All right, welcome. Finally. It's almost a meme at this point for this particular qualifier, how delayed it's been, and I even delayed the stream several times today because Hadriz was having quite a spirited best of three with, who was that, Deadly Bunnies there, so... let's actually get straight to it. We're going to take a quick look at the bracket. These guys do have a match ready. We're actually going to be watching Tank versus AC Moore first. They were ready first on the bottom side of the bracket, also traditional for this particular promotion, but that's how it goes. So yeah, they have already picked their armies. We've got Bretonnia into Wood Elves via picking bans, Tank picking Wood Elves, banning Empire and Dawi, almost baiting the Bretonnia pick. AC Moore going there, so let's get to the action and we'll have a look. I say have a look. What I actually mean is not have too much of a look. This is competitive play after all. Not that I don't think these guys will be watching, but you never know. Just better safe than sorry. Better not the appearance of anything odd going on than actually anything odd going on at all, right? 9 Greenskins games and no Tomb Kings and a slight chance of High Elves. Well, you were close. I mean, Wood Elves are kind of like High Elves, but more green. What's up, Vertical Cliff, Dutch Flavor, Imperialist Gondola, which is just a hilarious username. Every time gets me. Yes. Wait for these guys to get started. Hope y'all are doing well. Doing well myself. Been an interesting week. Interesting couple of weeks, actually, with all the releases of new content and kind of trialing different ways of covering it, and honestly, I mean, the streams are a good way of covering it, potentially. The produced videos are also a good option. I think the streams might be more cost-effective in terms of time investment, which is a little bit sad, but there you go. That's just how it goes sometimes. Nice up front, we've got some Deepwood Scouts here, and immediately these couple of Waystalkers, 2 Waystalkers here with Dryka up front, 5 Dryads. We got, what is this, Starfire Shafts, mix of them. Any Hagbane tips? No Hagbane tips, interesting. Yeah, Glade Guards with shields. Wow, Dryka just getting all crazy in here. This is a very aggressive play. Let's see if Lewin bites. With the Lion Shield active, ooh, the Malevolent Dryads here on the Peasant Bowman. We've got several Peasant Bowmen here. Holy Wardens, Battle Pilgrims, bunch of Spearmen at Arms, some more Battle Pilgrims, mobs taking the heat up front. Dryka's going to probably get out of there, we'll see. The Swift Shiver Shards will do a lot of damage, but with the Lion Shield, King Lewin should be just fine as long as he uses the uptime at the right time. But oh, look at these Pegasus Knights getting absolutely shredded. That is the pain of Pegasus Knights, but when they land a charge, I mean, the damage is definitely very legit. Blade Guard unit more or less just getting one-shotted. Other Bretonnian cav collapsing from the side here, very cost-effective. Knights of the Realm, Knights Errant. Got more Knights of the Realm over on this side, along with some more Knights Errant. So yeah, immediate just disruption and collapse here. And Dryka ended up not taking too much damage from Lewin, able to mostly get back to her own lines intact. We'll see. Meanwhile, the Malevolent Dryad's just making mincemeat out of Bretonnian backline here. Having an absolute field day. Lewin drops in pretty deep here. He's going to pop the Lion Shield, or, yeah, sort of Corone, that is. To debuff all these guys. Knights sweeping up and around here. His just presence causes so much disruption, right? That, I mean, the Swift Shiver Shards might be able to get online and get some shots going, but you can see as the Starfires and others try and extract themselves, they're still just in an opportune position for these cavalry to get in here, just bypassing these spears, outmaneuvering them. Great micro here from AC Moore, getting in there, getting in this backline, buttering the bread of these archers. At the same time, though, you can see the Knights Errant are kind of getting pushed back. A little bit of Penumbral, not Penumbral Pendulum. No cost mystifying miasma. I'm getting all mixed up on ability names today. We'll see if that continues. Maybe a trend, eventually. But a nice cleanup out here. Knights of the Realm get the Deep Wood Scouts. Swift Shiver Shards, honestly, very good in this matchup. Generally very cost effective, so I do like the pick here. The Eternal Guards are in a position they might be able to support, but it's kind of surprised how quickly all that Bretonnian cavalry broke. Definitely got in and got some really good value. But let's see if the infantry follow-up can kind of chase some of these routing units with these peasant mobs, for example. Great use of peasant mobs in this situation. More Dryads here, just completely healthy, and the Malevolent Dryad summon definitely kind of threw a wrench in Bretonia's plans here. Not having those peasant archers also feels pretty painful, but Lewin is just fine. As long as Lewin's just fine, things will probably be okay. Drika's also just fine. The Waystalkers, quite a bit of ammunition. I haven't really been paying attention to their targeting. At this point, it looks like they're going after the Pegasus Knights, which is a good idea. You know, high weapon damage, or missile damage overall. Just try and get rid of the models on them as quickly as possible so they can't get healed. Definitely makes sense. Apartment hunting sucks, yeah, especially in this market. I definitely feel that. I would consider, there's a little bit of side tangent here, I'd considered selling my place recently after getting it remodeled, but I decided not to, because I mean, I could get really good value for my place, but then I'd have to buy a new place, which in and of itself sounds like a nightmare. But, I don't know. Anyway, Bretonia over here getting routed. The Wood Elves forming up a pretty good kind of presence here with these Dryads and Eternal Guards. The Bretonian forces are somewhat scattered. Lewin is still a pretty good presence, but look at this. Swift Shiver Shards coming back. A couple of pretty decisive volleys alongside the Arrows of Kurnos from both Waystalkers means that the Damsel of Life is pretty much done as well. So, Wood Elves, considering this is a tough matchup, you know, he almost baited AC Moore into this pick with the kind of the pick and bans, right? Kind of banning around Bretonia, almost saying like, here, take this. Usually it signifies that the player thinks they've figured out a particular matchup, but it's still usually going to be tough in the live situation. And like even here, you know, with all of the credit to the Wood Elves playing it well, playing close to the vest here, protecting what little they can of the archers, but the Waystalkers also very good targeting and timing on that. But Lewin's just still alive, right? And as long as Lewin's healthy, it's a battle still. And just kind of reassessing here, pulling back. Still got some peasant archers. One full health unit of pox arrows here. That is pretty good. We'll see if the Wood Elves decide to try and focus. Starfire shafts here. We've got some more Swift Shiver Shards. A little bit of ammo. Not too many models left on any of them. Waystalkers do have some ammo left as well. Going to be continuing to chew at these Knights Errant here. I think my sound options are a little... There we go. I was going to say, where's the battle music? Interface also seems a little loud. Anyway. Right? It's like Agincourt, but it didn't quite work out because there wasn't mud. It turned out to be a lot harder. Yeah, Wood Elves are in a pretty good position here, though. Drika's still being so healthy, the Waystalker's still being so healthy. Also, you know, in that late-game single-entity combat, Lewin comes to ground, and these three kind of gang up on him, even though they're not really... I mean, Waystalker's 55 melee attack, definitely no joke. 325 weapon strength is there, certainly. Drika's also quite good in terms of a combatant, caster, hybrid. Wish Malagor was more like her, to be honest, but anyway, let's look past that. Lewin getting in here, Lion Shield active, so won't be taking much missile damage at all from the Waystalker there. Nice terror route, and using the peasant mobs to follow up. This other peasant mob does get shattered, but that's just fine. Got some more cav coming back here. The peasant archers do end up getting chased by the Dryads here. The Dryads are just like, you know what, here, take this. And Melkos Mystifying Miasma upgraded for the extra cast range does do quite a bit of damage to Drika, but at the same time, that's going to potentially trigger upper tiers of her buffs. Also slows down the peasant archers, so they're able to get caught by the Dryad. So really nice play there, actually. Love that play. Lewin's going to go for the snipe here. Let's see if he can finish it. Drika with her melee defense down to only 16. 75 charge bonus on Lewin. He gets a couple of attacks there, but she's able to kind of weasel away. Lewin's going to fly back up in the air, try and dodge some of those last shots. Knights of the Realm here just cleaning up. There's a lot of spears left. I'm concerned about the volume of Eternal Guard that's still remaining here, and the lack of sufficient tools to take them out. Balance power starting to kind of seem that way as it tips more and more. Dryads are able to shatter quite a few of those support units, and just getting outnumbered, so I guess it worked out, kind of banning around Bretonia, picking into it, and winning. Credit to Tank here. Very fun build. I like this wide Wood Elf style. Lots of supporting elements. Not any terror, which is interesting. You know, you'd think Wood Elves believe it or not, don't actually have cost-effective access to Terror. Who would have thought, as elves? Really only the Dark Elves have cost-effective access to Terror right now, which is a little bit of a shame. I kind of would like them to change the Eagle change back for multiplayer, but that's fine. You just have to take Durthu, who is in and of himself a terror-causing caster lord, who's also pretty expensive. So, yeah. Oh yeah. Let's see what we got going on here. That's pretty much it for Bretonnia. I mean, these Battle Pilgrims don't really have much to do but try and stand and brace. They're going to get a little bit of a Melkos Mystifying Miasma here, and King Lewin can come in. Battle Pilgrims, yeah, they're going to be done for pretty quick here. And there's no other ground units, so Lewin's going to have to land here and fight. Gets a nice enfeebling foe upgraded. Lewin does get the targeting on Dryka, which is great for him. Able to kind of plow her away from this engagement. That's actually really favorable. His charge bonus allows him to get a few hits there, but once that wears off, the Melkos Mystifying, or sorry, enfeebling foe rather, nerfing his stats. He does pop Lion Shield though. Gives him magic resistance. Dryka herself does magic damage. The Dryads will also be dealing some magic damage here, but it's pretty hopeless at this point for Lewin. I mean, even if he gets the snipe on Dryka, there's just so much volume of spears left here. Yeah, and as soon as the Waystalkers start getting some attacks in the back there, like I said, 3-on-1 single entity combat, the 3 single entities will usually beat the 1 single entity, kind of regardless of power, right? So, especially in a situation like that with supporting infantry and other things. Really nice game, honestly. Well played to both. Well played to both. Wow, look at Tank's build here. 217 kills on those Dryads, only 600 value. They just mopped some peasants. 183 right here. Like I said, I like this wide Wood Elf style quite a bit. Not any cavalry, which on paper seems risky to not have any mass, but more for his build, I feel like there was a good volume of cavalry, but it wasn't quite enough. Like, you're kind of trying to do two different things. Maybe, I don't know, maybe cut the Battle Pilgrims. Battle Pilgrims trade pretty well here, but like, I like the pick of the RORs, especially with the fire and magic damage. Regular Battle Pilgrims did not end up paying for themselves. You know, it's arguable you should just reallocate those funds, try and get more cavalry and or archers. Yeah, it's tough, though. I mean, credit to him not going Fey Enchantress double Paladin, which is nice to see. You know, style points for going Lewin, certainly. It's a winner in our hearts. But, Tank gonna take the win there. So if we have a reminder, we got Hadra's Ice Power waiting on the other bracket as I update the scoreboard here. Well, let me get the map updated as well. Let's see, Oakenhammer is the next map. I actually bothered to write them down in advance this time. Probably gonna run the next season of this. There's something in the works I'm thinking for after the Beastman DLC comes out, kind of in the last stage of Total War Warhammer 2. Probably the next season of South Sea Mercenary League won't be until the release of Total War Warhammer 3. We'll see. But in the meantime, I'm still going to be running, obviously, some other tournaments and stuff, and especially kind of fine-tuning this unit ban rules. I think it's an interesting way to kind of shake up the meta when things get a little stale, which we could potentially see some periods of long updates up until the release of Game 3. We'll see. I mean, Beastman Dlc is going to come out, and then maybe 1 or 2 updates after that to try and fix issues that inevitably crop up from that. And then that's probably it, I think. I mean, we'll see. So we could have some more longer stages of no updates, maybe a month or 2. And yeah, this unit ban rules kind of helps keep things fresh, keep people thinking about different things and different ways to play into certain matchups. Also helps us address certain units, lords, heroes, whatever, that become problematic. like, you know, Grom the Paunch or the Fey Enchantress. Is there a release date for Warhammer 3? I don't believe so. I don't believe there is an official release date. No. But let's see here. Picks and bans. Looks like we've got Norske into Chaos. That's always a fun one. Go Chaos, ban Counts and Greenskins. Norske for tank. So interesting. This is a fun one, you know. Chaos Gods are pleased. The ruinous powers smile upon this matchup as they patiently prepare for the inevitable release of their hordes. And I keep parroting this, but Creative Assembly did acknowledge in their Q&A that they understand Norske needs updates, and I don't know, I don't think they actually said they have any plans, just that they know Norske needs updates. They're aware of the issue, for sure. Like they are acutely, or were for the Beastmen. Obviously, they're fixing that. Yeah, exactly, Harabek. I think the date is 2021 for now. In the past, I've kind of speculated towards, like, early to mid-fall, like September, October. I don't know. It could be as late as November, but just depends on how much time they need to finish everything. Again, no insider information. Pure speculation on my part. Should make that 100% clear. The Beastman Dlc also, I don't think... Did they release an official release date? I feel like on one of the trailers they might have put an early release date. I don't actually recall, but it's in July. That's what we can say about that. Should be good. I'm quite excited. Beastie Boys are looking like they need some buffs. Honestly, yeah, a lot they could do with them. July 14th? Okay, 14th of July. Okay. Is that what they said on there? I was gonna say I think they released it officially on a post, but you know, these things come and go as I make content. Sometimes the specific dates. I'm not really a dates guy, even like big history nerd. I'm much more of a trends and forces and kind of, you know, broad time periods rather than specific dates. But there you go. Apparently, July 14th. Yeah, it's a little bit rough because, yeah, well, I won't talk about that right now, but... Yeah, just things are happening. I'm going out of town at a little bit of an inopportune time, let's say. 14th of July is a Wednesday, right? I don't know. I don't know about that. I'm definitely very, very curious to see what Creative Assembly has in store. Yeah, I'm also hoping... I don't know if I should really hope too much for this, but a lot of the older Lizardman stuff definitely needs a re-looking at. I don't know if they're going to wait till the Game 3 pass of Lizardman to kind of bring all of those characters up enough, but I don't know. This combined map for Game 3, I'm also... I mean, I know that's not... They've said pretty explicitly that that's kind of coming later on, which I expect. The initial release of Game 3 is only going to have the base factions, like what we saw with Game 2. I'm just hoping that the Immortal Empires, as I've taken to calling it, takes less time than Mortal Empires did, because Mortal Empires took a long time. That was a painful, what was it, a year almost? Of just teetering along. I don't know, it is a massive code base to merge, though. I don't... you know... It's literally the biggest strategy game that's ever been made, so, you know, credit to Creative Assembly for even undertaking this endeavor. They've built their own pyramid. They've got to now finish. You know, massive construct of many, many blocks. Just absolute unit. Let me check something. Yeah, they're just fine-tuning their builds, looks like. Thanks, Valnir. That was a fun one to make. I had that one in my back pocket for a while, I'm not gonna lie. Just deciding at a opportune time to release it. Yeah, Nurgle's gonna have some good flying tools. And I don't know, depending on how they kind of structure, what are they, plague bears? I'm not good with the demon stuff. Forgive me. The basic Nurgle demons, they might be chaff. I don't know. I'm gonna keep memeing about chaff is cancelled until I see otherwise from the rosters from Game 3. I mean, I fully expect like Tzeentch with the horrors, depending on how that's structured exactly. They'll probably have cheap horrors available for Tzeentch. Tzeentch might have some chaff initially. FA also might have some lower tier infantry. We'll see. But so far it's been, you know, no chaff zone. Oh, what's up, Romulan dog? Good to see you. Oh, it's a date on the Steam page. Oh, if it's on the Steam page, that's very official, right? That's about as official as it gets. So, yeah, okay. Nurglings, is that what they are? Nurglings? They're the tiny little ones, right? I wonder if they would have to implement swarms then to do Nurglings. Or are Nurglings like actual just infantry sized? I don't know. Again, I'm not good on the demon stuff. Forgive me. And also, might not be in the best state currently to try and remember these things anyway. More Streltsy and more Doom Wheels, I know, right? Plague Bears, that's the one I was thinking of, Valnir. Plague Bears should be a mid-tier infantry unit, kind of like what the Bloodletters are at, right? But, yeah, maybe they get Nurglings as chaff. Right? I don't know, Vertical Cliff. In like, going back, I'd have to really go back and analyze that. And I know this... They even say at the beginning of the trailer, represents a work in progress, so we shouldn't take too much from the trailers. But it definitely looks like they, at the very least, made models for the Marauder, Khorne Marauders, and like, okay, what would it look like if we put a Khornate shield on a Marauder and gave them a cooler axe? You know? Anyway, speaking of Khorne and Marauders, got plenty of Marauders here. Speaking of which, literally 4 Marauders. Some Marauder Berserkers on Norska's side, Wolfric the Wanderer, some Ice Wolves, Beasts of Tashnar, skirmish cav, so nice mobile skirmish force with a nice heavy hitting center. Yeah, kind of like a Cal zone, if you will. Chaos Warriors, a couple Mantecores, one of them, well, actually neither Exalted Hero. We've got just Exalted Hero on horseback, Big Bird, and mix of Horse Masters. So interesting, just the regular front line. Big Bird is a pretty good option in this matchup as well, given anti-large Javs here. Missile resistance definitely helps. Demon Lore is Demon Gore's Roar. Exactly right. That's about as far as I know, Hadris. Is I know Demon go Roar and Hellblaster Volleygun go Burt, right? That's about as far as I know Demon Lore. But anyway. Yeah. Ice Wolves kind of poking and prodding here, getting a little bit exposed on the flank, but not too punishing. The real mobile fight's about to ensue over here, and these mobile engagements can often determine the outcome of Norske versus Chaos. So let's see, Beasts of Tashnar and the Ice Wolves getting in very close, but so far, oh, do they get the Frostbite? They do get the Frostbite. That is pretty decisive. At the same time, though, nice response from Moore here, getting the Manticores immediately into a position to kind of counteract there. Not quite a terror route. Beast of Tashanar immune to psychology anyway, but a nice Plague of Rust here. Wolfric goes down to 10 armor. He's got to run. All these single entities are just coming after that big old mammoth booty. Look at the Manticore. We got the Exalted Hero. We got Big Bird just swooping in. Oh yeah. They're all trying to lick it right there. The stream's taking a turn. Anyway. The Marauders are punching back, though. You can see the throwing axis here kind of push back. Honestly, the single entities probably could have stayed the course right there without too much issue, but choosing instead to pull back and respond to the prodding attacks here of these Ice Wolves. Infantry definitely got to get involved. At the same time, Chaos Warriors are just getting blended by these throwing axes, so maybe they don't. Wolfric is in danger, though. Mortal danger. As soon as these Manticores realize that they can probably just go finish him off, they likely will. Yeah, I mean, Exalted Hero plus 2 Manticores. Wolfric really needs to try and peel back and get a little bit closer to some of this infantry support, probably, but we'll see. Big old presence of Marauder Horsemen just throwing in at the Berserkers here. I recently played this matchup myself, and granted, it was one game, pretty limited context, but I just went with the full 5 Berserkers as a front line. I'm curious to get your guys' thoughts about that. Right now, Wolfric standing back. He's still got a solid 5,000 HP left, so he can still stand and fight somewhat. Got to be a little bit careful of taking too much burst damage. The Shaman Sorcerer also just marauding about. These Chaos Warriors on his chariot having a grand old time. The chariots for characters on Norske, very underrated. Super, super strong anti-infantry. And man, this Beast of Tashanar and Norske Ice Wolves have been just holding up this blob. And look at this final transmutation. Oh man, oh man. That is the most cost-effective good doggos I have seen in some time. You know, holding all these guys back and allowing that massive final transmutation does hit all 3 of these single entities for a good amount of its duration. Even just going after that Exalted Hero, you know, a lot of damage there, good damage on the Cav, and that's a pretty decisive turn. You can see the balance of power immediately favoring Norske. Yeah, as this big mobile force just immediately switches to follow up on that. Exploit the success, try and push away the undivided Marauder cavalry here. Clearly, Norske Marauders superior to undivided Marauders, so they're trying to get away. And the Enrage procs are not even close to going up, but still, you know, it's something you pay for, even though it rarely works on Skirmish Cav. Anyway, might work here, though. We'll see. Pretty extended melee engagement as the Beasts of Tashanar Ice Wolves do come back, eventually end up catching up some of those Marauder Horsemen. Nice charge in here from the Shaman Sorcerer, getting after these few remaining Chaos Warrior infantry. Big Bird, a little bit surrounded here. He will actually take pretty good DPS, that 58 weapon strength on those Marauders, Berserkers, rather. I mean, they're basically like spears at that point, right? Doing that much damage to him, more or less the same as what spears would be. So he definitely wants to avoid taking that much damage if he can. Try and get away, get back to some support, but things are not looking great. The Manticores have kind of gone out of control here. Manticore, I should say. The other one seems to have buggered off. Oh, no, it's here. It's here still. Just not exactly where it should be. I guess buggered off in a way. Searing Doom placement here, not quite on the money. Trying to preserve some of his own troops, perhaps. But, I mean, these guys are pretty much a lost cause anyway. Maybe anticipating a little bit of movement there. It doesn't quite land on the mark. Marauder Horseman largely scatter as the Manticore swoops in. So some really nice Skirmish Cav micro here from Tank. It's absolutely taking no prisoners. Big Bird does get a pretty nice engagement here, though. Quick Plague of Rust on the Shaman Sorcerer. A couple of hits from Big Bird. Manticore charges. But the culprit, Wolfric, is lurking here. As much as a mammoth can lurk, he's ready to rumble. Just going to get in here. Smack that Manticore right in the face. Other Manticore does rear charge. Big Bird also potentially going to rear charge. Drops a Searing Doom. Very interesting. It actually does some damage just because the Mammoth is literally too thick. Oh man, that's funny. I've never actually tried that, but it makes sense. The Mammoth is so thick that it actually does impact with a number of the projectiles there, and it does decent enough damage, but it's not going to end up mattering as basically army losses is hitting for the Warriors of Chaos. Their single entities go down in a blaze of unglory. Not ungory, but you know what I mean. Sad Beastman noises. Or I should say hopeful Beastman noises. Yes. Oh, right in the face with the Mammoth Tusk. Great way to end it. Chaos Warriors better than Berserkers. Are they though? I mean, I'd have to actually test that. I feel like if Berserkers get a good charge, they could probably beat Chaos Warriors. Maybe like, I don't know, like less than half probably, but maybe close to half the time. It works even better on Dread Saurians, really. I feel like Searing Doom doesn't do quite enough AP, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it does work really well on Dread Saurians. But Tank there with the win. Taking the series. Some fun matchups there. Yeah, great Skirmish Cav micro, honestly. So any of my patrons who have questions about Skirmish Cavalry micro, bookmark this game and go rewatch it. I may actually recast that game separately, in fact. Specifically for you guys, because I've had a couple of patrons recently in patron practice sessions ask me about Skirmish Cab Micro, and I always am looking for good examples of games to show them. So, yeah, unfortunately I did not get the last one, but this one I'll save and perhaps cast separately. Anyway, let's get Hadris and Ice Power in here. Holy cow, Ice Power had been waiting like 2 hours. The way the bracket turned out. Poor guy. Anyway. So Tank takes the series there. And advances on. And we'll get the next one set up as these guys are joining. Okay, and let's get this going here a little bit. A little bit of music. Of course, wouldn't be one of my streams without a little Med2 music. Yes. Great stuff. Man, that Wood Elf game in particular. Guess not great Skirmish Cav micro, particularly in that one. There wasn't much Cav at all from the Wood Elves, but just great build overall. Good targeting priority, which is another concept that can be tricky for newer players to learn. It's more so if you're going to play like range-based factions, target priority is one of the most important things to learn. Wood Elves, Dwarves, you know, Vampire Coast, that kind of stuff. You got to learn what to shoot when and with what, which is surprisingly difficult. Anyway, let's get this going over here. We've got these guys loaded in. Let's get the map loaded in as well. Into Doc Karaz. Excellent. Yeah, Norske versus Chaos is an interesting one, because oftentimes, like I said, the winner of that kind of mobility engagement will win the battle overall. Hadris here, sorry, getting distracted. Starting on Empire, banning Dawi and Counts. See what Ice Power responds with. Anyway, totally just distracted myself from what my train of thought was. Oh, great presentation. Anyway. I need someone here who can talk sense to me sometimes. Especially in between the matches. Anyway, yeah, interesting games, for sure. Norske, that's what I was talking about, that's right. Norske into Chaos. So the mobility engagement, I feel like Norske, because of Ice Wolves and the Beasts of Tashnar, like, Beasts of Tashnar specifically for that sort of engagement are a great ROR to have. And the Ice Wolves means that you, like, have a degree if Chaos goes light, but then if Chaos goes heavy, you, like, bring in some Chaos Knights, then Norske starts to have a little bit of a bad time. Maybe want to bring some Skin Wolves, but Skin Wolves just really aren't that great in that matchup to begin with. A lot of downsides for not that much upside. Famir also kind of too slow. Really support mobility engagements realistically. I mean, you got Manticores, which are great, but you can only take 2 of them, right? Here we go. Here we go, Romulan. Maybe I should get you in here. Perhaps. Perhaps. If I really start to go crazy, honestly. Maybe. Yes, so the targeting priority is very important, and skirmish cav targeting priority is also an interesting topic in and of itself. Like, I'm more of the opinion that, like, there are some situations where you want to preserve your skirmish cavalry, like especially like Dark Elves, for example. You know, Dark Rider crossbows, you really can't use in a traditional sense, like how I'm about to describe. You kind of have to use them in a more like mobile skirmish infantry almost, like treat them more that way. But like regular skirmish cavalry, let me know what you guys think about this. Like, in my view, it's more so about positioning. Like, usually you're not looking specifically to get a lot of damage on a specific target from skirmish cav. It's more so about just kind of harassing, occupying space, maybe chasing routing units, depending on their cost, and sort of just doing like cheap, efficient damage to exposed areas, right? So really it comes down to more so positioning. Like, I'm usually having my skirmish cav on fire at will, and like, again, unless there's like a specific target that I'm like, okay, I gotta save some ammo for this guy, or I'm using my skirmish cav in a specific way where they're being defended, you know, almost like a backline of regular skirmish infantry would be. You do have to go. Oh, it's all good, Romulan dog. Maybe next time. Skirmish cav, though, is, I mean, again, you've kind of got the difference of forward firing only, you know, sort of non-traditional, I like to call them mounted missile infantry, more so than 360 shooting skirmish cavalry, right? You can use them in a skirmish role, which is, again, maybe not the greatest terminology for it, but there you go. That's kind of the way I've chosen to define it for myself, which is completely arbitrary at the end of the day. It's fun to talk about, though, which is why we're all here, right? Anyway, Bretonia for ice power into Empire. So we're gonna get some human-on-human action here. Very fun. What is this? The Grey Mountains? That's the mountains that separate these two, right? Grey Mountains War? Or am I thinking of a different? I forget. Again, I'm not not up on the lore. Probably shouldn't even talk about it, to be honest. I feel like that's right, though. Exactly, Romulan, and often forcing mistakes as well. Like, get your opponent to try and pursue your skirmish cavalry with something that's cheaper than it, or, you know, bait them into a bad position. Going after, like, artillery crews and stuff, also, you know, exposed archers and backlines, depending, again, a lot of it depends on the stats of your skirmish cavalry and their cost, also, and the stats and cost of the archers and artillery that you're attacking, right? It's all situational. Situations are so absolutely situational. But I definitely agree. Yeah, it's all about battlefield control. Why they're so good. They're so versatile at so many things, but especially that occupying more space than what their actual footprint is, I guess, is a way of putting it. Like, they just take up a lot of space. It's easy to push them away, right? You just have to advance basically in their direction, and they'll probably move away and take that space easily. But at the same time, like, you still have to displace them. And especially given implications for Game 3's kind of, domination game mode and potential capture points, things like that. Like, if that ends up being a favored mode for tournaments, or exactly, you know, what kind of customization options are available for it. Yeah. The skirmish cavalry will have an even more interesting role in that they could potentially move up, secure a point very quickly. Again, they're not really going to be able to hold it necessarily against a concerted advance, but at the very least, your opponent will have to invest some resources to go after them, or at least move them. Anyway. Hey, what's up, Killerinu? Ice Power has been long awaiting this trial. Hopefully been playing some warm-up games in the meantime, because he had his... Yeah, because of the way the seeding worked out, had a quick path to the semifinal, and didn't take him very long to win, and it took a while for Hadris to get here, and then also for us to play the other series, and now we're here. Yeah. 3 hours later. Not quite. More like 2.5. Anyway. Hopefully he's been playing some warm-up games in the meantime. Or I guess stay warm games? Yeah, we'll go with that. Yes. Yes. And I guess Ice Power is literally streaming his perspective right now, right? So I don't think I really need to hide these two. Maybe he's not still streaming his perspective. But it would have been very short if he did. Only stream the earlier rounds. Anyway, we'll just go straight into it here. We've got Fey Enchantress, Double Paladins, Questing Knights. Got some Trebuchets here. Interesting choice to put the Trebuchets down on the low ground. The missile damage, I believe, does get negatively affected by you being a lower elevation than your opponent, but at the same time, kind of getting that arc of fire also does hide them from cannon response, which we do have some cannons here on the Empire side, but it's finishing out, yeah, mix of pox arrows and regular cost-effective peasant arrows. Pretty much it for Bretonnia. Fey Double Paladin, as you would expect. Marcus Wolfheart, interesting choice on the Empire side. We've got Outriders here, some Spearmen, 3 cannons, oh, mortars, really, 2 mortars and a Hammer of Witches, interesting. So the mortars actually will be able to fire down on the low ground, but they were not really great in an artillery trade anyway. Mortars really want to be firing at the peasant bowmen more than anything else. Silver bullets, halberdiers. Halberdiers great in this matchup. Just, you know, 5 to 6 anti-large units plus, honestly, between halberdiers and spearmen. State troops in general, anti-large state troops, very cost effective. Yeah, weak in late campaign, but so annoying in early campaign. Exactly, Romulan dog. Exactly. Like, cost for cost, they trade very well, but, you know, against high-tier stuff, they're not going to do a lot for you unless you have them in great numbers. And Pistoliers, you know, Pistoliers, Marauder Horsemen, those higher DPS skirmish cavalry definitely can do something. Outriders also pretty decent, but again, they're kind of more mobile, mounted missile infantry. You don't quite have to dehorse them like Dragoons in Empire Total War. But they were literally mounted missile infantry. Could not fire from horseback. Had to dismount to be able to shoot. They were not that great as melee cavalry, so... speaking of cavalry, get a little pretty aggressive here. Hadras with these Outriders going for a kind of a secret agent deployment. Bretonnia kind of fearing this, I feel, to a degree, but man, the mortars also taking a pretty good toll on the peasant arrows right out of the gates. Not a lot of cost damage, but it's important damage nonetheless, especially leadership damage. Not a lot of immediate follow-up here. Both players kind of just probing at each other, a little bit of an artillery duel. You expect that sometimes in this matchup. Typically it will go in the Empire's favor though, so Ice Power is going to be advancing here. Also, again, the deployment on the low ground does put him at a disadvantage in terms of cavalry kind of charges and speed, so Hadras really, it's for in his benefit, speaking of skirmish cavalry, to just occupy this space, try and push up with his infantry, and see if he can't hold some of this cavalry down in this lower ground, or at least force them to charge and fight uphill. Will be a pretty ideal scenario, but right now, a little bit of lags to be expected. We've got players from all over the world connecting. A little bit of lags never hurt anyone, right? A lot of unit models on the field currently. But Marcus is going to be an interesting choice here. He will get beat up by the single entity squad pretty hard if he gets caught out by them. But state troops, do they get the downhill? Let's kind of check up close for the slope. They got a little bit of a downhill, but they're facing some kind of overwhelming numbers right now, and they didn't really arrive in their own great numbers. These other spearmen kind of a little bit out of position here to try and hold back this advance, but the Outriders are most certainly not out of position. Great volleys downhill. Again, a little bit of a missile damage buff, I believe, for a downhill firing engagement like this, so great job here. Knights of the Realm just getting shredded. Nice net as well from Marcus to keep him out of harm's way. Beautiful volleys from the silver bullets, but the halberdiers and other spear units, again, just not quite in a position. The silver bullets are going to get hammered here by the Knights of the Lionhearted. Death Wizard tries his best to hold back a few of the models there, and actually that rock does a little bit of help as well. But we'll see. Knights of the Lionhearted may end up paying a pretty hefty toll, but they do land home a pretty impactful charge. Peasant Bowmen also shooting up from the low ground. They say, what, missile damage reduction. Just win through numbers anyway, because that's what we always do. With great volume of fire and cost-effective damage, the Outriders are forced to concede that ground. And the double Paladins are now in a pretty disfavorable situation. We'll see if they get caught up on too much infantry here. They do have some avenues of escape, but a little bit tough, kind of sacrificing Knights of the Lionhearted there for the silver bullets. I get that. Definitely took them out pretty hard, but at the same time, Bretonnia right now is just kind of struggling to really get a cohesive force to penetrate the Empire pocket up the hill here. Like a lot of these peasant bowmen having a hard time keeping their leadership together. A lot of that comes down to just damage over time from the mortars. Not actual damage over time effect like the formerly OP Skaven mortars, which are now just kind of okay. Empire mortars just literally doing damage over time. Anyway. Spirit Leech here, questing Knights. Getting a little bit of damage. Nice Earthblood in response. Also heals up some of the single entities. Keep in mind, though, of course, as long as the Fey Enchantress is alive and healthy, like there's not burst damage to take her out, she can more or less drain out everything that's left for the Empire. So, as bad as things may look for Bretonnia, ultimately, a lot of this will come down to single entity engagements in the late game, as we have often seen. Nice shots from Marcus, kind of whittling away at these cavalry. I almost wonder, though, for Marcus if he shouldn't conserve that ammunition and try and get some shots on these units in the late game. Right now, the Paladins fighting Halberdiers. The Halberdiers will do some damage, but it just is a matter of time, right? Like, can they do enough damage to the Fey Enchantress and the Paladins before they get drained out? Right now, they're actually trying to get out of that engagement, it looks like. But, man, Hadra is great. Outrider micro. I've seen Outriders. Probably some of the best games I've ever seen with Outriders were from Hadras, to be honest. Just excellent positioning here. Mostly safe from the Peasant Archers. One does get focused here, the one that had kind of already taken some damage, and a great hit. A few hits there from the Trebuchets, kind of punishing a little bit of blobbing that was happening. But they had some really nice volleys there, and those questing Knights kind of setting up a mobile firing line. Ooh, trying to dodge some shots there a little bit from the Trebuchets, I'm not sure, but going after the Peasant Archers, I feel like they can just route through all of what's left here and maybe go take out those Trebuchets as well, which they probably can, but nice collapse here from these few remaining questing Knights that are healthy. And somebody concede there? Not sure. I guess Ice Power did concede. Interesting. I'm not really sure why, to be honest. I mean, I guess Faye had taken quite a bit of damage there, but maybe didn't have the Winds of Magic left to heal her, potentially? I'm not really sure. Paladins are both still pretty healthy, and I mean, the Empire stuff is just starting to kind of get worn down. I mean, I guess there are still 3 healthy units of Halberdiers here. The Outriders were kind of about to shut down, although he had the Questing Knights in a position. I don't know. I'd be curious to ask Ice Power about that. They die. I guess the Fae took a lot of damage. Maybe didn't have enough Winds of Magic to heal her back, but I don't know. Seems a bit odd. No, he's here. Here, anyway. Let's go ahead and get to the next map. What have we got? Oakenhammer. And let's get this updated once more. And we've got Tank waiting in the final. Hadras goes up 1-0 with the win on Empire. And there you go. Let's see what they got next on the picks and bans. Most of his mobility was gone against the Outriders. Yeah, I mean, he still had the one healthy enough unit of Questing Knights, rather, and there was, like, really only one Outrider unit that had broken through and was an imminent threat. I mean, the other ones would maybe rally with a few more models. and be able to chunk things down. But I don't know, I feel like he maybe didn't have enough firepower. Hadris didn't have enough firepower quite to kill the paladins. Maybe they just die a slow, horrible, painful death to halberds, but I don't know. Again, a lot of it comes down to if he had magic to heal the Fey-Enchantress or not. Maybe he felt like without his archers, he had nothing to deal with the halberds. But, I mean, the Fey-Enchantress can drain them all, as long as she can stay alive. The two ifs, for sure. Perhaps. Perhaps. Beautiful Outrider play, though, I have to say, from Hadris. Outriders are a unit that I tend to favor Pistoliers for their more general flexibility and because you don't need as good a micro to use them. If I'm being brutally honest, like you can get them to pay for themselves pretty easily without amazing micro. If you have really good micro, though, they're quite rewarding at the same time. Can be, at least. But Outriders require that little bit of extra touch and just that little bit of change in thinking of how you use them. I don't use them as much, but I've seen Hadris. I've seen some Lizardman games that I can remember, in particular, and that's the main one that sticks out to me of him using Outriders in the past. But in general, I feel like his Empire games makes good use of Outriders generally. In general. Let's see, picks and bans here. I do believe it is Ice Power's pick and bans, so waiting on those, considering options here. You can do a number of things. Preferably ban greenskins. Yeah, I know Ice Power is a really good Dark Elf player, right? So if you to go Dark Elves, you could ban greenskins. And who else? Maybe Coast. Is that still a weird matchup for... Maybe, I mean, I don't know if Hadris actually plays Coast. Maybe he does, but Hadris is also a pretty good Dark Elf player. Maybe they agree on a Dark Elf mirror. That'd be fun. Dark Elves, ban Wood Elves and OP skins. Okay, yeah, Wood Elves, makes sense. Another kind of weird matchup for Dark Elves right now. Coast, I feel like, is maybe not as tough as it used to be, but honestly, the issue with Coast was never really bombers. Like, it was to a degree, but also, like, just the range differential is not... Your kind of mid-range units have too short a range, basically, is one way of putting it. Now, granted, I haven't tested it in a while. Dark Shards with shields might be better in that matchup, but, like, I don't know. Even, like, something like the Regiment of Renowned Necrofex can kind of outrange, like Shades, and I'd have to actually check the range values. You know what? We have the technology. Let's just do it right here. Let me pull up the good old Total War Warhammer Stats.com or TWWstats.com. Great community resource, by the way. Yeah, Hadris is Dark Elf main, long time for sure, so... Dark Elf mirror? This, though, great community resource in general. What was I even looking up? Again, just distracting myself. Romulan, what was I just talking about? I was gonna look up 2 units. Oh, that's right. The Regiment around Necrofex. Okay, I got it. Gallows Giant. Yes. Had one selected, and then all of the Dark Elf skirmishers, basically. The Dark Elves. So if we add these lads. Yeah, so the Necrofex ROR has what? 110 range, which is okay, it does get outranged, I guess, slightly by Dark Shards. The base Dark Shards. Bolt Fiends have extra range. A lot of people don't realize, but the Regiment Renown go up to 145, which is actually pretty decent. Granted, they're a lot to pay for what they give you, but probably pay for themselves in the right situation. Shade's 130 range. I mean, it's like not that much of a difference to a Gallows Giant, so you could potentially, and I know this from experience, just roast all of the Dark Elf Bolt type units. Yeah, this site is awesome. It's the way that you can like, so for those of you guys wondering what I'm doing, I could actually, I guess, pull up a little. Let's see, do I have one here? Do we have one here? Will it show what I want it to show? Question. Here it is. Okay, so yeah, you can actually literally like pull up the unit cards and compare them, right? So I have the unit cards for the Gallows Giant here, and then some various Dark Elf Infantry Skirmish. We're just looking down here at the range, and it even gives you, like, based on the first here, a comparison as in-game, right? Gives you modifiers you can look at, and yeah, you can see here, slightly higher range, but only slightly on these Dark Elf crossbow units from something like the Necrofex, right? So it's just a weird situation. Like, the guns still outrange you heavily. Pistols even will like be able to do effective damage at range. Like, it's just weird for the poor Dork Elves. Hadras went dwarfs. Interesting. Trying to defend Oakenhammer, I guess. It's fitting for the map. Does CA have a dedicated balance team for their games? Yes and no. It's not a very big balance team from what I understand, and it's mostly, at this point, been focused on balancing Game 3, I think, largely. I don't know. I don't know exactly what the structure of that is. And it has changed over time since I've been kind of working with Creative Assembly as well, so I can't really speak to as to what exactly it looks like right now. I guess we'll see when the Beastman update comes out. But I think a lot of resources at this point are dedicated to Game 3, so if there was a balanced team, it's probably been greatly reduced. And they do listen to player feedback, absolutely. I mean, like, I know of certain individual developers that watch my videos, for example. I've found various ways, other ways too, of talking to the right people at the right time, get certain changes implemented. And they definitely do listen, but yeah, it seems like for the past while, understandably so, the majority of their resources have been dedicated towards Game 3. So once Game 3 comes out and they get everything merged, then they'll have the absolutely gargantuan task of trying to balance everything all together. And at that point, I really hope Creative Assembly puts like significant resources into a balanced team, like a fully dedicated, paid, balanced team, and one that is transparent in terms of their posts, like as to explaining why they made certain changes. One thing I noticed recently that they started doing in Call of Duty, actually, game I follow somewhat, I'm not like any super fan or anything, but just noticing in their patch notes that the developer actually, for multiplayer balance changes, obviously it's what that game is, multiplayer, they would explain their rationale for balance changes, and like literally, like, as an example, for Total War Warhammer, it would look like a -5 melee attack for whatever unit. Pick your unit. You know, -1 melee attack for Bleak Swords. Here's why. We think Bleak Swords are slightly overperforming against other lower tier infantry and also against these other targets, which they should not be. And, you know, just for them to kind of explain their rationale as to why they've made certain changes actually in the patch notes would go a long way, I think. Oh boy. Dwarves versus Dork Elves. Grudges to be satisfied. Let's see what Hadris got up his sleeve here. A couple of cannons. Some Thunderers. Miners. We've got Dwarf Warriors. Miners with charges. Couple of Master Engineers. Love this pick, actually. See if it ends up working out. And a Rune Lord. Interesting single entity squad. On the flip side, Malekith up on a dragon. Risky choice here. A little bit of a risky choice, I do think. He's a big target to be potentially bombarded by cannons and thunderers, but we'll see. Got some Cold One Chariots. Love the pick here. Some Dark Shards with shields. A couple of Hargonist Executioners, which will do some severe damage as long as they can get it in combat unharmed. Plenty of sad swords up front. Yeah, it seems like more game developers for multiplayer games are starting to do that. And I mean, granted, you know, would help even for single player, you know, balance changes for campaign as well, for them to explain rationale of why they're eventually. I mean, some things are obvious, right? Like this mechanic is not working as intended. You need to change it. But there's other things like balance changes wise, especially. It'd be good for them to explain why, because sometimes, a lot of the times it's pretty obvious, like, okay, yes, this unit clearly needed a nerf, this unit clearly needed a buff, whatever it is, and then, yeah, sometimes, though, occasionally you do see changes, you're like, huh, like, I wonder why they decided to do that one, and, yeah. If they explain their reasoning, then at least if their reasoning in theory is sound, then we go, okay, then that makes sense. If their reasoning is somehow faulty, then we can point that out to them and be like, that's not actually how this works. And then, yeah, Creative Assembly is a company of humans, right? Obviously going to make mistakes at times, and they'll be like, okay, you know what? Maybe we didn't anticipate this specific interaction, or about how it would affect this unforeseen part of whatever, right? Yeah. Hopefully. We'll see. Definitely something that I would love for Creative Assembly to start doing again in the future. Even for the Beastman Dlc, you know, if they are going to do balance changes. But man, look at the cannons immediately teeing off on the Cold One Chariots. Granted, the Cold One Chariots are not Malekith, so as long as stuff is taking damage that's not Malekith, is good for Malekith. He can now try and fly in on the side here. But Thunder is immediately going to be just moving to threaten him. Will he try and dodge some of the shots here? Kind of side maneuvering. Get a nice breath attack to counteract. Nope, nope. Looks like he canceled out on the breath. Does he want to stay the course? Nope, nope, nope. Decides nope out on that. Two Thunderers now lining up. So yeah, a little bit of an impressive force there to try and respond to. The sad swords are going to get bombed out here, which is very sad for them, but, you know, it's what they're here for. It's so that the executioners don't get bombed out, basically. And even still, they'll probably trade fairly well into the miners. Murderous Prowess a little bit closer, popping off here. Dwarfs are in decent position so far, but a lot of damage yet to come. Nice breath attack there, well placed. The fire, though, is pretty overwhelming. I mean, more Thunder is kind of moving to reinforce that flank. The cannons both quite healthy at this point as well. Yeah, nice Soul Stealer. It's going to hit some stuff. Does hit these Thunderers and probably just about break them. More about healing Malekith than anything else at this point. But if he had been in range to get that on the cannons, potentially could have blown up a couple of the models right there. Dark Riders are finally getting up and around here. Swing and a miss there on that fire ring of Thori, but that's fine. Cannons, ooh, really nice, just dodging and weaving here from these Slayers. Trying to cut and run. pull them away from different targets. Does lead to this one cannon now getting shut down. They get on the Thunderers. The Harpies also swing in. They are somewhat stopped up by these Slayers, but they do at least interrupt that cannon for the time being. So this is all good news for Malekith. That being said, the two Master Engineers are still both like basically cannons individually, right? 334 missile strength is like more than a cannon, right? So they're more each than an individual cannon. So just them kind of plinking at Malekith anytime he comes close to them is going to be super annoying for him to try and deal with. Player's also quite healthy, so mostly Malekith probably just wants to try and stay away from them, regenerate his breath attacks, regenerate his soul stealers, try and just deal damage more as a ranged unit than anything else. But nice breath on that blob there, doing quite a bit of damage to those Thunderers, and instead just going straight in for the attack stance on that Master Engineer. He does have them all cornered with a unit of Harganeth Executioners. I guess I didn't realize this is no Sad Sword unit. These are proper Executioners here, so great support unit to be able to have, and in and of themselves might be able to beat down these Dwarven characters. None of them are really meant for this kind of heavy melee combat here. Yeah, Executioners are disengaging, though. I'm not really sure why. Moving in to get hung up on these miners here. They had a really good surround. I mean, I guess they don't want to get rear charged or rear shot, potentially, which the Thunderers were lining up to do just that, but yeah, nice potential situation for the Dark Elves to come back in this game here. Murderous Prowess is up and at him. He's got Harganeth Executioners blending over here on the side as well, so the Executioners at this point are a severe threat to Hadra's Dwarven lines. Oh, Malekith is taking damage, though, and looks like this hero squad did survive. If they're able to get through and finish Malekith, that'll give them a distinct leadership advantage, but it's going to be basically just them, as the rest of the Dwarven army has somehow, at the end of the day, fallen apart under the heavy push there. Harganeth Executioners just undeniable. They're now getting into combat again, and what was looking very grim initially for Dark Elves. Dwarfs are able to pull it back, maybe? I mean, we'll see. Definitely too early to call at this point. Malekith just sitting well off and not taking any risks at this point, which is definitely the right call. The Dwarfs, though, getting set with some Thunderer lines. They get some effective fire on this Harganeth. Can they get some more fire on this Harganeth? Dark Riders pushing up. They're going to charge in. They won't in and of themselves do a lot of damage, of course, but just occupying the Thunderers so that the Executioners can get in. These other Dark Riders, Rune of Wrath and Ruin. Oh, so sad for them. They also get point blank blasted by those Engineers. Fiery Ring of Thori, which actually does as much damage as Scab's Wrath on paper. I feel like in practice it really doesn't. I don't know. I guess I need to do some testing. Malekith kind of trolling all around this area, ready to swoop in and try and finish these single entities once they become a little more exposed. And yeah, not looking great for the Dwarven characters at this point, as the Harganeth Executioners once again able to catch up with their quarry here. This is not an engagement that the Engineers necessarily want. They'll do okay punching back. They have okay armor-piercing damage, but another Fire Ring of Thori does respond reasonably well. Oh, it's so close here. Yeah. Look at this, though. As those Dwarven characters take damage from the Executioners, oh, the balance of power just tilts. And it's kind of interesting. I mean, obviously, Dwarfs, you expect armored infantry characters, so Executioners, but recently I've noticed a trend, and I think it's actually probably Ryder Rohan who made me realize this, but situationally, great sword infantry specifically is actually very good in niche situations where your opponent, you basically has to take specific footlords, right? Like Morgr is maybe not the greatest example because Beastmen have some of the best tools for dealing with armored infantry in the game. But like here against dwarfs, obviously, right? That's the clear situation where armored infantry characters you can definitely expect, and the anti-infantry, elite infantry, right? Stuff like, yeah, Harganeth's Executioners, Swordmasters of Hoeth, stuff like that. They can beat down those infantry characters fast enough that it in and of themselves makes them pay for themselves, and not to mention just cleaning up hordes of Dawi beards here. Definitely all the grudges. The Sad Swords also, just like I said, despite getting bunker busted and blown up by the charges, I mean, it looks bad initially, but they still come in and largely beat the miners. And trade cost effectively at the end of the day. Dark Shard's not doing too much. They don't need to do too much. Malekith staying alive at critical times. Hadris, nice volume of fire. Wasn't quite enough at the end of the day. I love this hero core pick, but at the same time, yeah, they are some of the squishiest of the Dwarven characters. So we will see a game 3 in this match. Thunderers, one of them got absolute dividends. The other one actually did really well as well. These two, not so much. Slayers almost always pay for themselves, and they do here. I mean, a lot of the Dark Elf stuff, a lot of the Dwarf stuff, I should say, does pay for itself. Rune Lords, though, I'm just not, I don't know. Like, even with this double engineer core, I probably would have gone with a more combat-oriented Lord. Like, I get the focus on missiles and kind of speed debuffs to feed into that, but I don't know. I'm not a fan of the Rune Lord, to be honest. Like, it's when you have really tanky lords that in that type of a situation where surviving is more important than anything, and even like Grombrindle, right, which granted pretty expensive, probably have to find some other cost savings, but anyway, I'm yammering on here. Let me update the scoreboard. Whoops, there we go. Ice Power pulls the game back, and that will take us to Eshin, the map for game 3. But Hadris has now pulled the Dark Elves from Ice Power. And according to the pick and ban rules here, I don't even remember my own pick and ban rules. That's how good of a caster I am. Game 3, winner of game 2, picks 3, bans 1. Yeah, so picks 3, bans 1. Game 2 winner then picks one of the remaining 2. Yeah, so we'll go with that on this game 3. And in that situation, so Ice Power now picks 3, bans 1. Give them a quick little reminder in chat. Yeah, those executioners, man. Yeah, it's tough to balance. I agree, Vertical Cliff. It's literally the biggest strategy game that's ever been made, like by far. I mean, in the level of detail and from the grand campaign down to the battles, like the combination of the two, the scale of the battles, the number of individual units and heroes and lords and variations and mounts, and just goes on and on and on. It's by far the biggest strategy game that's ever been made. Like, I mean, you can try and dispute that if you want, but especially once game 3 is out and, you know, everything's unified, an absolutely gargantuan undertaking, but yeah, a round of applause for those executioners. They took many beards. Got Ice Power back in this series, forcing a game 3. Yeah. Yeah, maybe cut a Thunder. I don't know. I feel like 4 Thunders plus 2 cannons is a lot to protect. Maybe you try and bring an additional Slayer, because the nice thing about Slayers is they'll still kill large, and they just are a little more self-reliant at everything. Like, I don't know, you don't need to allocate funds to protect them, really, in the same way. I mean, mostly just protect them from ranged units, which Dark Elves, I mean, most factions you can have appropriate resources to deal with their ranged, unless they just skew way too heavy into it. Game 3 will only be good if we get Hobgoblins. I'm pretty sure. I mean, Hobgoblins are basically like a part of the Chaos Dawi roster, right? If I'm not mistaken. Maybe I'm wrong about that. Maybe they're a thing of their own, but I could definitely see them being a part of some roster. I think, if I'm not mistaken, they make up like the chaff portion of the Chaos Dawi roster. Ice Power considering his picks carefully. Definitely a big situation. Oh, yes. Some great games so far today. They're both. Okay, so potentially they could get their own faction, but more than likely, at the very least, we'll see them as a part of Chaos Dwarfs. They do have their own empire? Okay, so that could be interesting. I really would love for them to make more like combination style factions. Like, you've got the rogue armies, but like flesh some of those out even more, you know what I'm saying? Like if you could do like a somehow combined greenskins and hobgoblins, I don't know. You know, make the hobgoblins a little more fleshed out. Because the Black Orcs, right, according to the lore, were like enslaved by the Chaos Dwarfs or something. They like made Black Orcs or something. I don't know. Again, I'm not up on the lore, but I guess if there's Black Orcs in that area, potentially they just like find their way into the Hobgoblin Empire, and they're like, okay, well, life here is, you know, less terrible than over there with the Chaos Dwarfs, so maybe I'll just stay here instead. So maybe they have the resident Black Orc population. I don't know. Just speculating. Again, I don't know anything about the lore, so maybe I'm completely wrong about this, but... Okay, Ice Power coming in with Empire, Lizardmen, Greenskins, and Bands. Skaven. Ooh, Skaven. That one cuts deep. Hadder's a very good Skaven player. So now Hadders has to pick one of those three for Ice Power to play. And then pick his own faction. Or maybe he bans one? No, that's not right. Hang on. Yeah, no, game 2 winner just picks one of the remaining two, so you don't have to worry about banning one and then them picking one of the two. You just pick the one you want. A little bit of a different variation on the standard kind of pick and bans. There's a few variations I've tried out. See how this one goes. Oh, is he gonna go Wood Elves into Empire? Looks like. Oh no, it is a ban one. That's right. No, I'm reading this wrong. I'm so good at this, guys. I'm a pro tournament caster. How long have I been doing this? No, so... yeah, opponent bans one. So Hadras will ban one of the three. Sorry, I'm getting this completely wrong. So if you were to pick Wood Elves, you'd want to ban Lizardmen, probably. Greenskins is also not ideal, but Empire is certainly doable. Greenskins, you could probably do something with Wood Elves. And Hadras obviously hasn't locked in his pick yet, just thinking. But, yeah, probably with Wood Elves you'd want to ban Lizardmen, because they are, in my mind at least, the most clearly disfavorable matchup. Like, Solar Engines are just a nightmare. Solar Engines are an actual nightmare for the entire faction. So, you know, you ban Solar Engines and fight Greenskins instead, but Grom is also a nightmare. Man, it's a good lineup of factions from Ice Power, honestly. It's a very strong series of picks. With the Skaven ban on top. Oh. Oof. Pick Wood Elves, ban Lizards. Okay, so he does indeed pick Wood Elves, ban Lizardmen, ban Solar Engines. As I said, makes sense. This is kind of the expected direction. And now I'd imagine Ice Power is probably going to go greenskins here. Yes. Greenskins. Okay, so it took us until 5th game in of the entire, semifinals here before we got a greenskins game. So congratulations, everyone. Congratulations, we did it. We did it. We'll probably see 1 or 2 more greenskins games potentially, but and times merge them under greenskins. Interesting. Okay, so potentially they could be also in greenskins roster. That'd be a cool way to kind of update greenskins. Do it alongside the Chaos Dwarfs. The actual dwarfs hopefully will get an update sooner than that, but we'll see. Right? I mean, it's going to happen at some point in a competitive tournament. It's just the way of things. And it took us up until this point, which in and of itself is quite admirable. I admire the picks and bans and the restraint of players so far. Yeah, Wood Elves into greenskins is, again, it's like, it's not too bad. There's some stuff you can do as Wood Elves. Definitely in this matchup. There's, like, it presents a few more nightmare scenarios for sure, but in terms of factions I would want to fight greenskins with, Wood Elves would maybe be in the top 5. I mean, if you're looking at any non-undead faction at least, even then they might be better than something like Tomb Kings right now. Damn, Night Goblins. The Goblins are great for the missile block chance here. They're very cost effective. Oh boy. Oh boy. Let's see what they got for us. Let's see what they can do. Alright. Put a ham fist on the music there, no big deal. Lucius, lots of love from Scotland. Hey, thank you very much, man. Much appreciated for your posts. Very happy to see you streaming. Yeah, thanks again. Glad you enjoy it. I definitely enjoy making them. The intros recently have been a little interesting, but that's how they always are, right? So I often wonder, and this is how I know I'm doing it right, is when I sit back and I'm like, oh, why? Like, what am I doing right now? And then, hit send. Usually it turns out pretty good. I've had a few misses, I'll admit. Some of them haven't turned out exactly as I wanted, but some of them turned out exactly how I wanted, which is, maybe even worse. Silver Shield Gobos, yep. Silver Shield Gobos, and you can actually get them over 100%. Well, I guess not anymore. You used to be able to, with the old Spite of the Bad Moon, get them over 100% missile block chance. That was fun. Wasn't very good, but it was fun. Ah, yes. So we see here the stone trolls in their natural habitat. We've got 4 stone trolls. Is that actually legal? Can you take 4? Let me check that real quick. Greenskins. Oh yeah, they are maximum of 4. Huh, who would have thought? Interesting. Stone Trolls max 4. Okay. It's all good then. 5 skirmish cav. Okay, so not actually 6. Got Grom, of course. Fighter Riders, plenty of Gobos on the Wood Elves side. Glade Lord. Wow, on foot. Wild. Plenty of Anathrema. So going super cheap here. We've also got a Waste Stalker, a Branch Wraith, a couple of Dryads, Starfire Shafts. Oh, I see. Oh, I see. Brave Anathrema fire damage. I get it. Okay, it makes sense now. Grom's gonna have a bad time if he takes this wrong. Wild Riders with shields here. We've got more Glade Riders. Glade Riders with spears. Yeah, nice light cavalry force to support. Very wide Greenskins army. We'll see how this goes. I mean, the Stone Trolls, of course, missile resistance will help them quite a bit here. It does kind of get more or less negated if we have a look. Kind of do some resistances math. Right, so weakness to fire on Stone Trolls from regeneration means 25% weakness to fire. Yeah, it offsets basically this missile resistance, right? So essentially they'll be at 0 resistance. If that makes sense, because Starfire Shafts don't deal magic damage, so they'll just be straight up armor-piercing bows, which is still very good. Stone Trolls are very likely to have a pretty bad time. Again, though, that's a lot relying on the Starfires, and there are 5 of them. It'll be an incredible volume at once. Unleash, but we'll see. So a lot's going to be riding on that. Brand of Anathrema can only be used on one target at a time, though, is the issue, and yeah, the rest of this Wood Elf army doesn't look like it's going to hold up for a super long time. Nice initial skirmishing there on the Spider Riders. Does Glade Lord actually shoot while moving? I think she does. Fire on the move? Yes. Nice. I would expect so. A little bit of poke and prod. Pick off a medal here and there. Maybe try and snipe out this caster right here. Yeah, immediately going after that Orc Shaman. The correct call. He's on foot. He's pretty squishy. Only 30 armor. Less than 3,000 HP. Well, maybe about 3,000 to start, but definitely almost less than 2,000 now. Some quick arrows in for the bow elves there. Little Legolas lad and lass. Love the horns. Stag helm. Mostly because it's not a stupid cone hat. Anyway, you know, the Wood Elves, I think one of the reasons why I like the Wood Elves the best of any Elven faction, I literally just decided right now, is because they don't have as many cone hats. The cone hats is really what does it for me. Like, the Elves in and of themselves are okay. I mean, I did main a Blood Elf mage in Burning Crusade, 100%. But, you know, that's neither here nor there. Anyway. Yeah, it has a percent chance to flat ignore damage, right? So if we take a look close here, as the Stone Trolls rush into combat, they're going to meet some Dryads. It'll be a bad time for the Dryads. No Eternal Guards here, but a little bit of a sacrificial Glade Lord here immediately leads to one Stone Troll just getting demolished. Did they lose any models, though, is the question. They did not. Okay, they lost 2 models. Interesting. And now poor Kalara over here is all separated from the rest of her clan. Meanwhile, Glade Riders are pushing away some of the skirmish cavalry. The Stone Trolls get in the back line here, and they are the next to suffer, as the Wild Riders alongside them are also taking some damage. The 8-peak loons lining up for a loon shot right through the Wild Riders. Does a pretty significant amount of damage there. That's pretty nasty. And they're going to now follow up into the rest of the Starfire Shafts. Starfire Shafts, another Stone Troll seen off. They got to turn and fire now. But, yeah, Kalara here getting caught out by From the Punch. Brave Anathrema popped on him, and now the Starfire Shafts are going to focus. But at this point, they don't quite have enough volume to actually finish him off. They're going to do a substantial amount of damage to him right now. But, like, the Spider Riders timely kind of interrupt right there. More Spider Riders collapsing from the other side, and there's just not enough to protect these archers here, unfortunately. Yeah, I mean, the Dryads, pretty solid pick, but against the Greenskins, a lot of the skirmish cavalry moving in to just kind of interrupt here plays a pretty big part. Nice brain burster there, and the Glade Lord as well just getting taken out, unfortunately, by these two casters. Like, you snipe us? No, 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 we snipe you! And actually, the Night Goblin Shaman does have poison attacks, so that's really not an ideal situation at all for the Glade Lord to be in. Getting beat up by two casters. The Orc also, 310 weapon strength. I mean, he's not a pushover. So they kind of work well in tandem together. I mean, I guess 280 on the Gobbo is also pretty decent, but Glade Lord does survive. Looks like Hadra is actually going to throw in the towel there. It was looking pretty bad for him, to be honest. But I like the attempt, you know, going for the Starfire Shafts. They all basically pay for themselves, right? I guess not quite. But just, yeah, the Blade Riders really not doing a lot for you here in terms of stemming the tide. Wild Riders do a little bit more, but the Dryads also just get hardcore run over, unfortunately. Yeah, 4 Stone Trolls. This is just a really strong army. 5 Goblins, 4 Stone Trolls, all the skirmish cav you ever need. Some 8-peak loons to deal 1200 damage value, or basically an extra missile unit, more or less. Yeah, just ridiculous. Green Sins are so strong right now. Wow, 636 on the Death Creepers. I actually like the pick of the Death Creepers here as one of the skirmish calves. With regeneration does allow them, and stock also allows them to trade a little bit better into Wood Elf Archers. Yes, so let's get him in here. Yeah, so Ice Power ends up taking the series there. And if we switch on over to the bracket, have him moving on. Well played to Hadris. It was a great series. Had a couple of hard-fought series there. Now we get Ice Power versus Tank. So let's get Tank in here. And there he is. On the maps, let's go to Blue Reach River for the first match. Here we go. Yes, MP Blue Reach River. Yes. Yeah, Spider Riders putting Elven Light Cav in trash can is ridiculous. I agree. Poison, they should probably just nerf Poison, to be honest. But yeah, Grom, they need to nerf his armor, I think, or just overall HP, I think. And also, Lucky Banner is ridiculously strong. That's got to get nerfed. That's got to be like maybe 20% damage resistance, if that. I'm really not a fan of big damage resistance abilities, to be honest, even though, you know, Empire has 2 that you can stack. So, that's slightly hypocritical of me, but yes. Okay. Yes, Ice Power is the first pick here. I'm just realizing I need to get this set up here. Sorry, guys. Okay, let's do this, and Ice Power moves over here. Tank. And we clear out the scoreboards. You know, ideally, this would be done by a crew of people. If I had my ideal world, I would actually have like literally a crew of like 6 or 7 people helping me with this, and we'd have, you know, 5, 6 spectators potentially. I think you can have up to 6 with spectator mode. Like all different camera angles, including 2 like Lord cams. I put a lot of thought into this, if you can tell. If I had like unlimited resources, what would I do in terms of casting? And that would be to like hire like 6 people, 7 people, someone to like update the scoreboards and graphics and stuff ongoing. Maybe commission some people to make some really nice fancy graphics to use like in between, and you know, get a either hardware or software setup that allows, again, me to easily switch between those things, or producer or someone. I don't know. I need to look at the logistics of how all of that would technically work, I guess. But Horus Heresy, gotta go. Thanks for the stream. All best, even if you've played Horde. Yes, I know. Thanks. Much appreciated. Is the Streamlabs actually not working today? It seems stream... Hire me for admin. You want to be a camera operator, Wicked? Alternative green payments? Perfect. Perfect. All I need for you is to literally click on one army's lord and press insert. Press K first so you get rid of the UI, and then press insert, and then just basically just try and keep the character's face in shot, more or less. There it is. Just a little delayed. Wow, a lot delayed. Thanks, Horus Heresy, again. Yeah, literally, it wouldn't be hard. For the Lord Cam, at least. If you're assigned a Lord Cam, it's just insert, follow around your assigned Lord, and that's how you literally don't even have to move, you know, the camera in terms of WASD, like panning the camera. It's just, you know, rotating it around the character, and occasionally zooming in and out if you want to, you know, by clicking the mouse button. I don't know. YouTube is like that, Christopher. I definitely recommend, if you want up-to-date updates, like on the money, Discord is generally the best place. I pretty much always announce my live streams on Discord. So if you're not on Discord, it's a good place to go. I would love... Oh, nice. Another $5 from Lucius. So looking forward to playing Kislev. Like the Polish faction with Chaos Enemies Joy. I know, right? The Winged Hussars, as a heavy cavalry fan, a heavy cavalry enjoyer, I should say. I'm very excited to smash demons with Winged Hussars. Yes. Overhead view and interactive screen, like a full-on dedicated caster mode where you could also like look at either player's Winds of Magic pool and cooldowns by clicking on a given character. Yes, I've also thought about this quite a bit as well. But yeah, maybe someday, if I get some very, very wealthy patrons. You guys are definitely getting me well on the way right now with this stream chat here, so big thanks again. But yeah, I mean, if I had literally like thousands of dollars, I would totally do something like that. I would definitely. Oh yeah, Fire and Sword. Fire and Sword's interesting. I've never actually played it that much. Played it a little bit. So, Ice Power, Dark Elves, Band, Wood Elves, Green Skins, Tank going Norske. Interesting. Ooh, like that. I kind of like it. A little spicy. A little spicy pick into the Spice Power. Only played multiplayer. Yeah. I played a little bit of the Napoleonic one multiplayer. I played a little bit of Warband multiplayer. I don't know if I ever played Fire and Sword multiplayer, actually, but could be fun. I think, was that the one you were streaming the other day? Or I think you were streaming the Napoleonic Wars one on Discord, right? Where you were, like, playing the drums or the fiddle while people around you are just dying. Oh, yeah, showing health gain, damage tanked. Be nice, too. Yeah, damage resisted would be great for resistant stats, if that's somehow they could track that. I don't know if they could. Certainly healing received would be an interesting stat to also measure, like, how much a unit tanked. Sometimes you can just judge that by looking at healing cap and damage taken, but it'd be interesting to see healing received, healing given, right, for units that have healing abilities and spells. Yeah, damage resisted, potentially, or damage blocked. I wonder if that's something that they could even measure, like damage that potentially got prevented by high melee defense. I don't know. It's kind of weird to try and figure out how much damage a unit has tanked. Exactly what measures would go into that, but okay. Napoleonic is far more populated. Yeah. I guess I should probably transition over to the game now, huh? Yeah, definitely going to be an interesting one as we look at the river here. Yes, no, not this. This is not the river. In fact, a lot of people have that misconception. If you look out in the distance, there's the river. This is just the blue reach of the river, right? Because the river reaches over here and, like, makes this little well. I don't know. Anyway, Blue Reach River memes. Yeah, for ice power here, double Manticore with Wrathy. Wow, very strong, to be expected. Dark Riders with shields. We've got some Dread Spears. Slaneshless Harvesters, like that pick for some extra Soul Stealers. We've also got double Keen-Eyed Assassin for all the Soul Stealer effects. Definitely looking to try and kill some Skin Wolves with just massive spell damage. Some Sad Swords, Fierce Spears. Plenty of Marauder Horsemen, Horse Masters. Some Mobile Wolves as well. Ice Wolves, Beast of Tashnar. We've got a couple of Skin Wolves as well. Wulfric on horseback, Metal Sorcerer. And a whole mess of Marauders. No Berserkers, interesting. But I see the Jav Horseman taking some pot shots. Keen-Eyed Assassin kind of cutting and weaving. He's a pretty small target to be firing javelins at, but you gotta shoot something, right? Definitely gotta shoot something. The Scourge Runner's actually taking some decent counter skirmish. Only 80 armor on them. They're a really nice target for the javelins, actually. These middling armor piercing, like kind of the mid-level armor piercing, right? Like Pistoliers, Javelin Cavalry as well. Like pretty good AP, good non-AP damage, just high damage overall. Oh man, Wulfric getting a little bit risky here. Has Assassin Trophy popped on him. Comes in here, gets some damage on the Keen-Eyed Assassin, but he's got to stay away from this goon squad. The Manticore's quickly moving in alongside Wrathy there. And yeah, it's just not looking great for him in that particular position, so he moves away, gets back to some support. Wolves also kind of just loitering right now. It's a little bit of a skirmish fight, which I would think largely favors the Dark Elves, even though Norske actually kind of has more resources into skirmishing. In a way, they're skirmishing, yeah. Kind of interesting, because the Keen-Eyed Assassins are just small targets here. And they're starting to take some damage, though. Sad Swords, look at this. These Marauders just kiting back. Like, nope, nope, we don't want any part of your emo shenanigans. We're going to wait till the Chariot side charges you, and then maybe countercharge back in here. Yep, great move. Actually, really nice move from Tank there. A little bit of frontline micro to eat up these Sad Swords, and they are largely getting eaten up without too much issue. He's like, okay, I've had enough of throwing javelins and throwing axes at them. Let's just eat them with Marauders. Even still, though, I mean, the Dark Elf Scourge Runners respond in kind, doing some nice damage there to those Marauders, but who cares about low-tier infantry? Big old Soul Stealer going off, hitting a lot of these important monstrous infantry targets. The issue is, like, these monstrous infantry and kind of low model count units really don't want to blob up as much as possible, especially around the Keen-Eyed Assassins. That'll just lead to, you know, immense profit. One of the Canine Assassins uses his Web of Shadows already. Not going to be amazing value on that. It just gets 2 Marauders, but it's okay. But, man, the Canine Assassins are taking a surprising amount of damage from the Marauders. That is pretty impressive, honestly. I mean, they're just basic Marauders. You wouldn't think that they'd actually be very impactful here. But look at this. Both the Canine Assassins are almost about to go down here. So I guess just burning the Web of Shadows while it's while you have it, right before the Canine Assassins are dead. But, oh, man. This is a nasty-looking pocket for a big old, what is it, Final Transmutation? Which I do believe he does have, yep. So, right now, Norske kind of just kiting away. Looks like they're going to try and use this terrain piece to their advantage here, kind of setting the flank up against that. But at the same time, you have a numbers of mobility advantage. I don't know if you'd want to restrict your movements too much in any one direction. One direction, anyway. Yeah, some of the Marauders actually getting full shattered here, which is really not great. Dark Elves currently do have Murderous Prowess active, so it's understandable Tank not wanting to really take a face engagement. He doesn't really have the resources to take a face engagement anyway, with most of his infantry being eaten up here, and this last infantry unit kind of being sacrificed. Oh yeah, that charge from the Scourge Runner's juiced up from the up to 50 charge bonus from the Murderous Prowess. You can see the Manticores and Marathi kind of swooping in and out. They don't want to overcommit here too hard on chasing Wulfric when he still has enough resources to give them a hard time. But the Canine Assassins managed to survive that ignominious attempt on their lives that left them horribly scarred and deformed. Good thing you can't tell under those silly masks. Ah, good stuff. Yes, another Soul Stealer here. At this point, as long as Tank can avoid blobbing too much, I mean, he's got a lot of Skirmish Cav ammo to try and work through here. The Scourge Runner Chariot's just about out of ammunition for the Dark Elves. But they've still got all this cavalry healthy. The single entity squad's still very healthy, so they both kind of just traded infantry for each other. And I think largely Dark Elves got the better of that trade, considering their infantry is much healthier. Also got some Dark Riders coming back as well, so nice kind of back and forth here. Norske has plenty of space to try and kite here if they wish to. The question is, do they wish to? Going after the Manticores with those javelins there. It's going to do some decent damage. But no repeater crossbows or anything. Quick charge from the Dark Riders of not repeater crossbows. They will get a decent charge there and be able to do some damage on those Marauders. Quick boat response from Wulfric. I don't know if we've actually seen any boats yet, so that is a nice little set there, doing damage to multiple units. I'm a little concerned about using too much ammo here. Keeping these Ice Wolves and the Beasts of Tashnar also, I would think, yeah, I don't know about committing them here. I would think you just want to keep them back. Just continue to protect the Skirmish Cav as long as you can, basically, and wait for them to present an opportunity, like either with the Manticores or Marathi isolated, preferably. Just not giving an engagement here, but it looks like the Slaanesha's Harvesters, they're fast enough to force an engagement regardless, and the magic attack's actually going to be quite strong against the unarmored Skin Wolves here. They do rely entirely on that physical resistance, but Slaanesha's Harvesters also very squishy, will take some good damage in return. Beasts of Tashnar get terrified away here. Okay, so they don't have immune psychology, it's just from the frenzy, that's right. I remember now. Yeah, 3 Lord choices is so bad. It's true. It's true. Oh, yes. Oh, man. Looking for an isolation. Skin Wolves are coming in, but looks like they're going to get screened by the Sad Spears. Nice countercharge. Word of Pain actually goes down on this one health unit here, and this is a really good engagement for the Dark Elves suddenly, as they kind of hit these Skin Wolves as they're pulling away here. Manticore also charges in. They are now at risk of getting terrified, and they do get terrified by a simple Manticore hit. And I feel like Tank's army is just kind of dying a death by 1,000 cuts right now. Like, it, for me at least, it feels like Ice Power is in greater control of this game, even though from a tactical perspective, like, Tank definitely has a lot of cards, you know, has the ammunition, has the ability to try and kite here if he needs to, which he definitely needs to. But, like, just the presence of Sad Spears, Fierce Spears here still alive, although they are taking significant damage. Wow, just kind of dropping like flies, to be honest, right now. From the Javelin Fire. The Javelin Fire is just about gone, right? The Skirmish Cavalry's starting to run low on ammunition, and there's still the most important targets, which is these 3 single entities. Frog is pretty garbage. Yeah, he is. He's a little bit of a clown, to be honest. Norske is set to be the first cross-game DLC in Warhammer 3. I should hope so, and I should hope that'd be like possibly the first DLC for Warhammer 3. Honestly. Oh, nice Soul Stealer here. Oh, the final transmutation also getting popped in the late game. That could be pretty decisive, actually. I'd totally forgotten that that was in the back pocket of the caster. And wow, look at the damage on the Manticores. The damage on the Manticores is so extreme. Wulfric now moving in. Morathi moves in to try and finish him off. Wand of Kharadron gets a good hit there. Wulfric also taking damage from the other Manticore. Oh man, this is a big, important engagement. Let's get in close. Morathi has to pull away as Hunter of Champions has been popped, and that does leave the other Manticore exposed. The Dark Elf Infantry suddenly not able to provide enough weight to support here. Morathi dives in one more time. Can she get the finish? The Marauder Horsemen also mostly routed there, though. I mean, there's this one unit relatively healthy. One unit of Spears also kind of stabilizes here. These Horse Masters, oh, more Horsemen just flowing in. The Shaman also in this big blob right here. So that was a pretty nasty engagement for the Dark Elves. Just like that, a big old final transmutation kind of turns things around. But, I mean, Mama Morathi's still alive. She's got a Soul Stealer. That is going to hit there, and it does affect Mage. Even if he moves out of the area of effect, will still get hit by the full timing of it, so that's not ideal. He's probably going to go down from that. Wulfric also takes significant damage, and it heals Morathi, so yeah, pretty wild swings back and forth. Skinwolf's unfortunately not in a position to try and eat Morathi. They would do some pretty good damage to her, but Wulfric takes a few critical hits here from Morathi. He has no way of getting back into this game in terms of healing himself. And the leadership damage pretty extreme. More Skinwolves emerging from the woods right now, though. Will it be enough to try and finish this Dark Elf army? He kind of gambled a little bit there. And it was a nice attempt at a comeback. Now, though, Dark Elves swing once more heavily on the balance of power. Manticore swinging in. Nice strike directly to Wulfric. Going after that priority target, not allowing them to get distracted by the Skinwolves, although they are now getting distracted by the Skinwolves, and juiced up with a fight or die, melee attack proc. Look at this, suddenly it swings back all the way in the other direction. Morathi wavering. If she routs here, that is over. It's all game over from there. Wulfric with a decisive charge back in. Can he get the rout? Oh, a Soul Stealer. Will the Soul Stealer go off? Oh, Morathi routs? But there's something else. Oh my goodness, the Clutch Spears rallying, and the Dark Riders also rallying. Morathi is healing. Look at how much she's healing. The Soul Stealer's doing so much damage. Oh man, this is a wild finish. Oh my god. Oh, Morathi will not come back from rout though, unfortunately, and it does look like was not quite enough there. Oh man, I thought that Soul Stealer might actually rout some of those units, but it looks like it was not enough. What a wild finish. Great game for sure. Holy cow. Man, some very intense swings. Morathi coming out 3,000 damage value. Ooh-wee. Well, the K-Knight Assassins, I'm surprised though, taking so much damage from the Marauders early on, kind of forced them to use their Web of Shadows in unfavorable situations, and not having those hit the right targets, I think, was pretty decisive in the late game. That little bit of extra damage on Wulfric and the Shaman, I mean, that could have been the Web of Shadows, right? So a lot of coulda, woulda, shoulda, though. In a close game like that, definitely many things could have been different. Yeah, Dark Rider's doing a great job here. Slash's Harvester's also great value on them. Scourge Runners, Manticores actually don't perform super well here, which is interesting. They do get some timely terror routes, which in and of itself is pretty good, but not that great on damage value. Norske, probably one of the best factions in the game, if not the best faction in the game at hunting monsters. So they do that very well here. Manage the Manticores, and managed to keep their Skinwolves alive too until the late game. The Horse Masters, excellent job here. Marauders sacrificed appropriately. Huge value on the Shaman Sorcerer as well. And that That was a doozy. That late game final transmutation, just I think that's honestly the play of the game for sure. I had completely forgotten that he still had Winds of Magic, which is again kind of going back to, in an ideal world, we would have a caster mode that would let us see both players' Winds of Magic. But alas, we do not have an ideal world. Okay, there it is. Tank goes up 1-0 on that very narrow win. Yeah, that was a great kite from him for sure. Yeah, the transmutation value. I mean, you saw it there on the Shaman Sorcerer. That was brutal. I mean, the Chariot play, of course, as well, does allow him to get some value, but there wasn't a lot of infantry for him to get value on. Most of that, I feel like, was from final transmutations. That last one especially was a backbreaker. Oh, man. Yes, Prague is the map. I'm forgetting to change it. Okay, sorry, just managing something on the side here real quick. Yes. So Ice Power going Bretonia into Vampire counts. Tank, strong Vampire counts players, picking them early on in this series. Trying to go for the win immediately. Love to see that. Love to see players going for the throat. For being nice in a tournament. It's burned me quite a few times. I know I'll be like, oh, I'll be a gentleman. No, there's no such thing. As long as you're following the rules. I mean, of course, don't be a complete jerk. You don't want to get thrown out, but yeah, you don't want to be nice. You want to go for the competitive builds. You want to go for the meta builds. You don't want to be cute. Holy Chads fighting shambling hordes, basically. Who's smellier, zombies or peasants? Big Gorst here. Gorst is actually close to meta here. And we do see him, in fact. Tank understanding that, you know, I like to go just ridiculous numbers of corpse carts here, because corpse carts are really kind of terrible for Bretonia to deal with in certain ways. Yeah, let's see what he's got. He's got Gorst, double White King. Interesting. So, Gorst is the caster, and see, this is a change from what I would normally do. Which is to take Gorst just on his cart with, like, regeneration. The one that you have to buy, I think, Master of the Dead or whatever it's called. Basically as cheap as possible, just to make him a Mortis engine. Like, literally, he's not here to cast spells. That's how I play with him, right? But Tank, taking a different approach here, actually has spells, including Wind of Death, which is potentially going to come in handy here. Got some Crypt Horrors, Vargulf. Just one Vargulf? Yep, just the one Vargulf. No, two Vargulfs, two Blood Knights, Bellbats. Shall see. Wind of Death against Bretonia. You know, you wouldn't think to. Not necessarily much elite infantry here, but you never know. Line of Archers or something else. Maybe use it on Grail Guardians. I don't think there are any Grail Guardians here, though. Oh, no, there are. One Grail Guardian. Okay, one Grail Guardian. Got Grail Knights, Knights of Lionhearted, Grail Knights, so plenty of strong cavalry. Fey Double Paladin, Archers, Peasant Mobs, Men-at-Arms. Yeah. Tank, what is going through your head right now? Wind of Death. Right. I mean, it does quite a bit of HP damage, if I remember correctly. Yeah, so maybe there's that. Interesting. Yeah, Gorst is actually kind of meta in this matchup. He's like the anti-Fey Enchantress, right? He's like the disgusting, horrible counterpart of the Fey Enchantress. Let's go in for Gorst Cam. So this is wicked. This is what you'd be doing, is literally just like, I'm following around this lord. Then we'd say, okay, go to Lord Cam 1, go to Lord Cam 2. go to overhead cam, go to cinematic cam 1, you know, something like that, basically. And this would literally be one of the shots that would continuously cut to. Dedicated Lord cams for each army. Who drains the drainer? Exactly. That's exactly. He's the degenerate of the degenerates. That is Helman Gorst, literally. Anyway, some nice initial volleys from the peasant arrows. Going to do a little bit of damage. Not much, but everything counts against a big monster that has healing cap. Tank very patiently, kind of obliquely approaching here. Not going directly straight in, which is something that a lot of Vampire Counts players would do. Kind of buying himself a little bit of time here, but also taking some damage from arrows. That's fine. Man, the peasant archers actually do good damage on those skeleton spears. One Scav Scrath, though, and this is kind of the thing, right, is he's buying time for the Scav Scraths to try and do some work with them. Gets one there. And then this White King immediately just gets bullied by these 3 single entities. And this is an issue for Tank, is that he's got his single entities fairly well spread out. The Vargulfs are now going to respond here, but yeah, the Blood Knights also trying to respond as well. Kind of get blocked up by peasant mobs. The Knights are going to push the Vargulfs away. Single entities really should try and stay focused on the White King, though. Yes, just keep damage on the White King. See if you can't get him to disintegrate, because if you could get rid of one of the Scav Scraths early on, that's going to be huge for protecting the archers here. Archers over here kind of getting chased by bats. There's one more bat way off in the corner, I'm guessing waiting to chase some routing units, but we'll see. Right now, Vampire Count's kind of a little bit blobbing up with the infantry, but it is getting engaged at the very least. And the White King is pretty much done. Yeah, he is gone. He's a goner for sure. So, I mean, maybe. I'm having a hard time actually finishing him, looks like. But, oh, look at this. Nasty, nasty dwellers below here. Gonna get one of these Blood Knights and a whole bunch of the undead infantry. Also speed debuffs the Vargulfs, kind of trapping them in here somewhat, although one of them immediately just jumps out of it. Dance Macabre, interesting choice. These Blood Knights are probably gonna go down from this unless they get some quick healing. I do not see Invocation of Nehek, just the Dance Macabre, so potentially disastrous situation for Tank early on, losing these Blood Knights. Bombardment also gonna get popped. Realm Knights are just kind of forced to hold here. Bombardment doesn't do too much damage. Does a pretty good amount of damage, but look at this immediate disintegration on some of these zombies and the spears, leaving the Blood Knights all alone to fight the Grell Knights. That's really not great for them. The Vargulf's also getting eaten up by the Paladin squad here, so Bretonnia in a very good position so far, getting the early White King catch. And the White Kings did survive. He's still got his Scav Scraths, so there's that. And Gorst, where's Gorst? Gorst is here. He's draining out the cavalry, which is actually a pretty ideal situation for him, but yeah, no Invocation of Nehek on the Blood Knights is tough. They're going to lose one, and it looks like both of their Blood Knights here. Very, very rough situation. And the Vargulf goes down. I think this is already looking to be game for Vampire Counts, which I can't say, you know, I am, fully admit, biased against Vampire Counts. And biased towards them in a certain way, but let's not talk about that. You know, hatred is just a different form of love, still taking up space in your mind, right? Anyway. Yeah, I can't say I'm too sad to see Vampire Counts lose to Bretonnia, but look at that Wind of Death! Oh, man! Tank's not out of this yet. You were talking about earlier the Wind of Death, how he uses it against cavalry, and that was use of it there. Issue is that Gorst is going to die to these single entities, as will the White King. Yeah, double Vargulf, double Blood Knight with Helman Gorst. Works pretty well in this matchup, but I do think you need more Corpse Carts to try and block. Honestly, it's like not even a meme. Like, just, you have them to block the Paladins and the Fey Enchantress, because they have more mass than them. And if you literally get 3 Corpse Carts in a triangle around them, you can trap them in place. Not that you should ever try and do that. Whoops, I apologize. Just clicked right through without even looking at the damage values. Most shameful of displays. Yeah, needed more Crypt Horrors. I don't know, I actually really don't like the Crypt Horrors here. I would say drop the Crypt Horrors, if anything. Or more Corpse Carts. Oh, okay, more. Okay, makes sense. And this is a matchup where Bretonnia is probably one of the better factions to actually fight Vampire Counts with when you think about it. You have a lot of good counter play here. I have used the variation of it more to great success, but that was before the Fey Enchantress Double Paladin was quite as popular as it is right now, but I still think... I mean, I'm kind of memeing, to be honest, but I'm also, at the same time, kind of not memeing in a way. That, you know, Gorse with 5 corpse cards in total, like Gorse plus 4 others, plus, yeah, 2 Blood Knights, 2 Vargulfs. I forget, I'd have to actually pull up the build. I think I have it saved somewhere, but... 4 Blood Knights. I actually think Black Knights with Lances and Barding are amazing here. They, believe it or not, they trade really well into... Well, they trade okay into Bretonnian Cav. Not necessarily something you want to take a heads-up fight with, but that 110 armor is definitely legit. I mean, they literally have, like, slightly less armor, but same charge bonus and weapon strength as Reiksguard for, well, like 100 less points, and they're undead. Black Knights with Lances and Barding. I know it might seem strange to go in that direction against Bretonnia, but I actually really like them for cleaning up as an archers and just providing more rear charge cav bodies. Yes, Bretonnia did win. I don't know if the Vargulfs were worth it there. Yeah, the Vargulfs, you kind of got to cycle charge them in and out, and ideally they're going to be fighting something that's already surrounded by stuff. I think not having the zombie summons is a problem. I'm going to be honest. Not having zombie summons is a problem, which is why I would say you take a regular caster with Gorst. Even if you end up taking spells on Gorst, I like not taking spells on Gorst, because then I can kind of play him aggressively and use him as a distraction. Like there, maybe bait the you know, Fey Double Paladin. Obviously, the 3 of them can, you would think, burst Gorst pretty quickly. In reality, maybe not so much. But you potentially put him in a seemingly vulnerable situation. You know, they collapse to try and take him out. Anyway. I'm yammering on here while these guys are waiting on me. What is the next map here? We've got Troll Country. Nice. Quick one. Let me also update the scoreboard. Troll Country, way down here at the bottom. Trolling myself. This is game 3, right? 1 ban. Sorry, tank. Not paying attention. Okay. So, series is even 1-1 so far. We'll go to Troll Country next. Sniping it's hard for some factions. It's not as hard for other factions. And if someone's really good with their micro, it's harder. But like really good anti-large characters can just beast her down pretty quick. I go back to the example of Saurus Scarvets. I mean, they're kind of the anti-paladin Bretonnia, anti-paladin Fey, right? Because individually, they will beat paladins. If you take them on foot with nothing, they cost like, I think 700, I want to say. Maybe more. I think it's only 700 though. They'll beat paladins straight up, and they'll beat the Fey Enchantress straight up, and you take them knowing that against Bretonnia, you know, Fey Double Paladin, they're going to have to fight them at some point, right? Like, unless they get killed by foot squires, which seems unlikely. You know, we go back to Greatsword Infantry being good against infantry characters. Turns out Greatsword Infantry for Bretonnia, aka Foot Squires, is pretty terrible. So, probably not going to see them beating up. And, like, obviously in an isolation, like 3v1, yes, clearly Fey Enchantress Double Paladin going to win. But as long as you keep the Scarvets together, and probably, you know, Slann Caster is going to be the Lord, keep them near the Slann. The Slann can, in a pinch, also contribute to that fight, although magic attack's not going to be great against the Fey specifically. Incoming Orc versus Orc? Maybe. Shetland. I just noticed your username. That's amazing. I'd have to test my build. It's been a while since I've tested my build out, and maybe it doesn't work as well anymore with the infantry mass changes, but it is literally Gorse 5 corpse cards, like unironically. It's been a long time since I've used it, but I mean, I did use it in the past in, I think, a couple tournament scenarios, and I won pretty handily against Bretonia. Just had, like, an inordinate amount of success with that build. More than I should have, for sure. Maybe I'll have to bust it out again. See if I can't get a couple battles with it. That was some time ago, though. Yeah, let me see. Actually looking here. Gonna try and find it, but not now. We'll just wait for these guys. Empire banned dwarfs. Okay, like the pick from Ice Power. See what Tank's got in response. He's got a plethora of options open to him. Might we see greenskins? This would be a potential matchup. Warriors of Chaos, interesting. With Troll Country, a type map like this could potentially favor Warriors of Chaos here. It's going to be a little bit tougher for the Empire to take advantage of their missile units. That being said, Empire countercharge into Chaos, believe it or not, works pretty well. Like Carl just administering the beatdown of justice is a force of nature to be reckoned with. So we'll see. Whoops, did not mean to do that. Let me very quickly transition away. Not that it matters too much, but yeah. So now, guess what? Guess who makes a return? Good old dancing Wurzag. That's right. Is he up? No, he's not. Yes, he is. Okay. Yes. Good old dancing Wurzag. True classic. Grail Guardians can't lose. It's true. The Grail Guardians. Yeah. Yeah, the the Grail Guardians are a good one. That's why you almost have to have the Gorse damage to like drain them out. Because yeah, they're a bit of a problem. And I mean, granted, I don't know if I ever actually faced Grail Guardians with that Gorse build. But my thinking would be, as long as Gorse is alive, he can kill anything. Basically, as long as you can kill 2 paladins. The whole idea with the corpse carts is surround the paladins with corpse carts and beat them up with Vargulfs. Again, it's very dumb. Probably wouldn't work. Gloria Esteban's conga. I know, right? If only copyright wasn't a thing with music. It'd be so much better. We got a little dance music on. Let's get a little dance music. Perfect. We are getting through it. There will be at least 2 more games here. Possibly 3. Oh, yeah. Nothing like Med 2 music to soothe the nerves. Yeah. Yep. kid sneezing. I don't know if you can hear that. I really need to get a webcam set up for the cat cam. Am I excited for Age 4? You know, I haven't played Age 3 since I was a kid, or Age 2 and Age 3 to be honest, and I enjoyed both of them, but like I'm not super into the series, so I don't know if I'm necessarily excited. I'm definitely interested. Maybe that's a better way of putting it. Interested, not necessarily excited. Yeah. Definitely seems interesting. I don't know. I've thought about potentially trying to branch out and cover like AoE. I am a lot less familiar with Age of Empires than with Total War. I've been playing Total War just forever, basically, right? Age of Empires kind of disappeared for a while. Like Age 3 was okay, but I didn't keep up with it in the same way that I kept up with Total War. So I'm not as skilled, not as familiar. I'm sure I could learn it. Doesn't seem like it's like there's the whole base building economy complexity, right? But in terms of units, like all the factions for the most part have the same units, which makes it easy. Age 3 is kind of lame. Yeah, it is radically different, exactly. And I've personally, my multiplayer RTS experience is primarily Total War Warhammer. Like, I haven't really played many base building RTS games in multiplayer. And like Warcraft 3, what multiplayer I did play was like custom scenarios that were more like, you know, proto MOBAs, right? Yeah, 3 has some cool mechanics. 2 is doing very well. 3 I actually have not played in quite a long time. I know there's a lot of like new factions and stuff, but I'd be interested, honestly, to take a look back. Maybe that'll do that on a stream sometime. Noob it up. Talk about build orders and stuff. Anyway. Speaking of builds, got some builds here. Yeah, classic RTS, exactly, with the base building has pretty much disappeared. That is one reason to be excited for AoE 4, is because it's kind of bringing that back, but my focus is primarily on Total War Warhammer for the time being. Maybe once the Game 3 life cycle, you know, 2 or 3 years down the road starts to die down, or however long they're going to continue to produce content, maybe 4 years plus, who knows. Whenever Warhammer 2's like well and truly done, or Warhammer 3 rather, is well and truly done, maybe I'll start branching out more into other games. But for the time being, like, there's just still so much to cover. I feel like I've covered everything, and yet there's still so much to cover. Hey, what's up, Hunter? Yeah, micro's hard. That's the thing. AoE seems like a very demanding micro game, and I don't think my micro's up for that. I enjoy the army building aspect of Total War quite a bit as well. Kind of the, like, picking your army. You both have equal resources, pick the army before. It just seems like more of a fair fight. Like, you don't have to do the economy management alongside fighting. Nice volleys, though, initially from the Black Lions here. Hellblaster volley gun mounted on war wagons. We've got Volkmar the Grim, some swordsmen, spearmen with shields, Empire Knights. Got some more spearmen, swordsmen. Ooh, that fireball comes in, does some pretty good damage. Firecaster on both sides. Firecaster on a Manticore for tank here. He's also got Sigvald. And nice hit and run on these Marauders. Great weapons here. Also gets a great bombardment drop on those Chaos Knights. The Chaos Knights are just going to follow up straight into the swords. Swords do get Grand Shield of Faith to try and resist some of that damage. And yeah, severe damage coming out from the Empire missile units here. Empire handgunners, silver bullets opening up. Nasty charge, though, from those Chaos Knights. Those swordsmen probably won't hold up for too long. Manticores are also running into the back line, but that's a pretty expensive unit. 1,400 points to lose early on out of the gates like that. So rough stuff. Oh, look at this flame sword right in the center. Hits Chaos Marauders mostly. But also, there's, you know, Chaos Warriors in the vicinity. There's also a Chosen Great Weapons in the vicinity. So, interesting build from Chaos. Kind of going somewhat elite and narrow here, which could punish them. As the Empire has plenty of resources to try and protect. Even still, though, Manticore does manage to get through and get on those Black Lions. Empire Knights immediately responding, continuously screening. So, really nice screening actions here so far. Good terror bombs from Volkmar. Nice burning head, just going to roast through one of those spears. Just a regular 350 spear unit. Silver bullets actually didn't take too much damage from that, so that's okay. What is this? Another Flamestorm? Surely, no, of course, Banishment. I was going to say, surely it's not off cooldown yet. But a Banishment from Volkmar, very well placed once again, doing some really nice damage in here. Chaos Warriors Griffins haven't taken too much, but both the Chaos Knights are mostly combat ineffective at this point. Sorcerer Lore Fire, though, still relatively healthy. Handguns have not been able to get online to take a beat on him. Sigvald is interrupting their line of fire, so to speak. His mirror shield. And meanwhile, the other Manticore still persistent on these silver bullets despite the best effort of those Empire Knights. The Empire Knights are really not able to control them adequately. But another Flamestorm, here we go. Bless you, Ice Power, for taking double Vortex. And right on the money, on top of the Chosen on the initial burst there. It is probably going to move away from them. Generally, it will kind of move in the direction away from your caster, from where you casted it. But even just that initial damage, really good stuff. Chaos Warriors here, Chosen getting terrified away by Volkmar, so very commanding lead for the Empire at this point, as the Black Lions at this point still are able to mostly fire. Speaking of fire, Manticore, man, what just happened right there? Did he actually get point blank blasted by the Hellblasters there? That's interesting. Took a bunch of HP damage all at once. I wonder if he just dove straight into like a volley gun that was actually firing. That being said, one of the wagons does get taken out by the Chaos Knights there. Nice little engagement to try and come back in this. The Grey Open Infantry, though, just gets wrecked by missiles mostly here. Be curious to see some of this value in the end screen. Volkmar also getting some really nice drive-bys. Yeah, Chaos Knights shattering there. Initially did get one of the wagons down, but that's it for them. The Sorcerer Lore Fire, that's it for him also. This Manticore's down, so it's mostly just a matter of taking out Sigvald at this point, which might take some cycle charging, might take some shooting. It's definitely doable. Sigvald also might just hit army losses here, we'll see. Does look pretty close to that way. So be it. Yes, so be it indeed. Right. Badass Knight charge through the vortex of fire. Unfortunately was not. Man, look at how slow these Chosen are. They are just chugging at this point. Just so tired. Spirits are broken. No more blessings to be given. There's a Flamestorm out here. Let's not ask questions. Oh, and here comes the back-breaking banishment on the last of the Chaos Warriors. Gonna sacrifice plenty of Empire State troops, but hey, they were probably about to fall to heresy anyway, just from looking at the Chaos Warriors. You know, can't be too certain sometimes. But it will take the Empire some time to clean this up. I do feel it's mostly out of reach for Warriors of Chaos at this point. But Sigvald's definitely not one to give up on a fight easily. Oh man, the Hellblaster though. Let's just appreciate this unit. Has been oppressive at times. In the hands of a good player, it's quite strong. I don't use it often myself, but ridiculous damage output. Only used up half its ammunition, and it's got 65 kills. We'll look at the damage valuation in just a second. I just want to soak up some brutal shots. Volkmar with the immediate follow-up, of course. I love that the dude on the back also does attack animations too. I don't know actually if this is the same splash attack, like the same profile, but helps call down the soul fire there. Sigvald now getting surrounded, and that should be basically it. Yeah, might have to shoot Sigvald a little bit. Got some more Chaos Warriors. Ooh, the Chosen are coming back over here. Let's watch them get shot some more. Everybody likes gunpowder, right? Oh, that headshot sound. Right? Yeah, I feel like I've documented a good portion of Ice Power's journey on my channel, and he is looking very, very powerful today. Had some initial losses. There's definitely been losses along the way. Not invincible by any means, but definitely in a commanding position now. At, wow, man, almost 2,000 damage value, Black Lions. I mean, it's kind of crazy still that they just barely pay for themselves at that value, but still very legit damage. Volkmar as well. Sigval getting good damage, paying for himself absolutely. Just not, you know, that much flexibility. The Great Weapon Infantry definitely does not pay out very well, especially the Chosen. Like, I see what he was going for here. You know, Great Weapon Infantry trades great with Empire Cav, but at the same time, you're just kind of lacking in tactical flexibility much here. Like, even just cutting... Like, the Chosen with Great Weapons are definitely too much. I mean, maybe you want them, but I would think just more numbers of Marauder Great Weapons. And obviously, Hounds and Horsemen are obligatory as well in every Chaos build, it seems like, but... right? It's awesome. Oh, I know, right? He probably got a mean mojito, I would imagine. Anyway, next map is Aerial Ridge, one of my personal favorites. There it is, and let's get the scoreboard updated as well. Ice Power now up 2-0, so win or go home for tank here. Going with the Wood Elf pick. Dan's Dwarfs. Lizardmen, oh, Ice Power going Solar Engines. We have not seen Lizardmen yet today, so I like to see that. This is one of their best matchups, I think, in competitive that you see often. I get the banning Dwarfs just because, like, that matchup's not very fun to play. Yeah, that matchup's really not very fun to play at all, and if you're not comfortable in cheesing certain strategies, like, Dwarfs arguably have an advantage there. I feel like the onus is on the Wood Elves to cheese the Dwarves. Maybe you don't want to do that, which, you know, understandable. But you do leave the Lizardman pick open, and, I mean, Solar Engine counter is a thing, so let's see. See what Tank's got up his sleeve. I know, right? Imperialist Gondola, like that sentence. No, only here do we see badass knights fly through flame tornadoes and a chariot of faith banish chaos-powered super Vikings. Literally, I mean, 100%. That's Warhammer in a nutshell. Why we love this game. It's so cool. Community, of course, as well, has been amazing and continues to be amazing. Would not be here without you guys. Oh, yes. I think my kids want some pets. Jump up here. Come on. Come, watch the battle. Yeah, I have always enjoyed playing Beastman to a degree. Like, they've never been one of my favorite factions. Also on the channel, they move the needle somewhat, but they've never been a huge needle mover for the most part. But, like, I do enjoy, like, cavalry, obviously. Mobile hit-and-run style play, which, obviously, the Beastmen are good at. Also, like, Cygor spread. Nice Cygor spread with mayonnaise. Just get the one Cygor and go super wide. And, again, you kind of run hit-and-run, but, like, with this one powerful, monstrous artillery piece. Like, I don't know. I've enjoyed playing the Beastmen. They definitely have gotten stale over time, and I am looking forward to their DLC quite a bit. I would hope you've never been laying any Beastmen. I would hope that no one has ever been laying any Beastmen. And if you do hear of anyone laying any Beastmen, please call a witch hunter. That is asking for chaos. I'm also a fan of the classic, you know, Greek mythology type monsters. Cow dudes and goat dudes and centaur dudes. Horse dudes, I guess. Pretty classic. Beastman in the lore of Total War Warhammer is so sad, though. No real human being. I think, are you even a real human being, or are you some kind of mutant? He's a beastman in disguise. Oh no. Oh no, Hadris. Oh no. This action does not have my consent. Oh god. I'm done after that. I'm gonna have a hard time recovering my composure. Okay. Skinks. Hadris, Hadris, I don't know. I call him Hadris because it's like haha Hadris. I don't know. Yeah, Hadris. Hadris. Yes, like House Drez, but Hadris. You are a real human? Oh, what's this goat mask I found then? I'm just kidding. You're probably a real human. Anyway. Anyway, let's see what they got here for the Wood Elves. Tank coming in on a win-or-go-home situation, immediately pinging with that Arrows of Kurnos into something, into one of the solar engines. The solar engine is going to respond in kind, blasting Swift Shiver Shards right out the gates. We've got several Swift Shiver Shards. What is that? 3 up front. Looks like some Starfire Shafts as well, Dryads, Eternal Guards with shields here. Pretty basic build, to be honest. Sisters of Twilight, it looks like, in there. Yes. Okay, so they might be an answer for solar engines, but probably not. I think they lose if both the solar engines are fighting just them. Right now, though, not the case. They are actually taking pot shots at the Chameleon Skinks. Really interesting. Choosing to use their anti-infantry type bows, going after Chameleon Skinks there. There's also this Skink Chief Bro just poking away, more or less for free. I mean, he's 350 points, right? So, does take up a 360 shooting slot, but, you know, if you don't want to completely spam Chameleon Skinks, he is like a single entity Chameleon Skink for a little bit cheaper. Not quite, but close. But those Chameleon Skinks definitely taking pretty significant damage. Solar Engines are dishing significant damage as well. Swift Shiver Shards are going to be a great target for them to go after. You can see here Starfire Shafts and Aggravating Tips move up. They're going to start firing. They're just firing at more or less frontline chaff right now. Well, that's fine as the Solar Engine continues to work them down. This is a high Slon? Yes. The most highest of Slons here is ready to cast some Tempest. He does have Tempest to go after the Sisters of Twilight. Might just be waiting on the right opportunity to use it. Ice Power, Ice Cool here. A little bit of damage on the Slon. He's got to be careful. I think the Sisters of Twilight probably burst down the Slon pretty quick if they switch to anti-large mode. But great shots here from the Solar Engine, continuing to fire. I don't know about using the single target against the Skink Chief, though. He's a super cheap single entity. And, I mean, it's not doing that much damage to him anyway. Yeah, right now in this kind of prolonged shootout, it's really not going to favor the Wood Elves, which is not something you say often, but Ice Power's got to be careful. Swift Shiver Shards do come in range here and start to do some damage to the Slann. He will take burst damage very quickly. Another Arrows of Kronos kind of pokes him there. Slann eventually awakes from his slumber, starts to tremble away. Apotheosis to get a little bit of sustain. Heal back some of that damage taken. And he also pops a Spiteful Banishment right on these Swift Shiver Shards as well. Oof. Man, the Solar Engines are starting to run low on ammo, and I'm a little concerned that they've mostly just done damage to Swift Shiver Shards, which granted in and of itself is pretty good. I mean, they probably paid for themselves, but the Sisters of Twilight are also still a present threat. He needs to conserve at least a little bit of ammunition dealing with them. Great shot right there, though. Also the stat debuff, kind of disallowing them from getting too involved in melee combat. But you can see Tank kind of concentrating his forces, trying to shore up his losses as best he can. To move over onto the one flank, but just really not a great situation for him, although it does drop this unit of Saurus fairly effectively. The Triads are also pushing through here. He's got enough of a presence of archers, perhaps, to try and take on. But mostly, I mean, Solar Engines, I think, at this point, are just going to be able to use up the rest of their ammunition without too much issue. But let's see here. Skinks chasing some Swift Shiver Shards out in the distance. That's great use of those Skinks' speed. We'll be able to catch them and probably eat plenty of arrows in the meantime. Nice hit from the Solar Engine there. Penumbral Pendulum doing really good damage to these two units of Saurus. That's great cost-effective work. The Blob Punishment from Blizzardmen currently on cooldown. Or is it? Nice Solar Engine hit right there, right into the Blob. Again, those stat debuffs. Ooh, Soul Quench, swing and a miss. Almost overshoots into the Hagbane tips. But Sisters of Twilight are super low anyway. That probably would have been a decisive finishing blow. But nice zone with these Skink Cohort here to get these Blade Guards out of position. Try and get the Skink Chiefs in range to finish the Sisters of Twilight. Been a long day. But they are now maneuvering well out of range, and even the Bastildons are not quite going to be able to get back in range. So at this point, yeah, just fire into the blobs. Like this blob right here is going to be a really juicy one to get some hits in. Continue to use up that ammunition. You want to save at least a couple of shots. Yeah, I mean, he literally has like one more. Maybe you save those. Because they did just get the healing proc there, Sisters of Twilight. So that's going to put the Wood Elves somewhat back in the game. But one Solar Engine does use up the last of its ammunition. This one has one more shot as well. So let's see what's he going to use it on. I haven't seen many breath attacks either from Tank yet, I don't think. He's been very patient, kind of waiting to use those into the late game. Some ammunition left on the Sisters of Twilight. Last Solar Engine shot, swing and a miss. That's very painful. Would have been really nice to have that blinded debuff, because now Sisters of Twilight are coming after the Slann, and they have one intention, which is not good. So he's going to pop a Tempest. Upgraded duration. This will do a substantial amount of damage, and now the Slann can kind of just turn around and fight here, honestly, especially with the Overwatch of the Chameleon Skinks. Solar Engine is now switched to melee mode. A little bit of a rear attack action. Will do some okay damage if he stays in combat. Right now he is just failing to do any attack animations whatsoever, but that sorry, not the Banishment, the Tempest did an insane amount of damage, and that will seal the deal. And with that, Ice Power takes the title for the third qualifier. Third of 4 qualifiers. There's still one more qualifier to be had, and likely it will be hosted sometime this upcoming week, honestly, like maybe Wednesday or Thursday. We'll see, but yeah. Sisters of Twilight. Like pocket sand. Yes. So, the Solar Engines, I mean, both of them get great value and do a ton of work. Slann does his thing. Saurus are kind of glorified meat shields here, but that's fine. Javelins also do some really nice damage. Chameleon Skinks pay for themselves. Sisters of Twilight don't quite. Swift Shiver Shards, a little bit of a mixed bag. Generally do okay, but yeah. Starfire Shaft, same thing. Dryads really don't do much. And neither do the Eternal Guards. So just the lower tier infantry for Wood Elves, I feel like gets so outclassed in this matchup. That's one of the things that makes it terrible, kind of stacked on top of the Solar Engine problem. Yeah, Skinky Boy's hard carry. Indeed. Indeed. So, GG's. Congrats on qualifying. I'll be in touch later. Out. Grand final. Big thanks and congratulations to Ice Power. Played like a champ today. Had some setbacks, but battled through. That series against Hadriz in particular, that was quite a doozy. So thank you all so much. Had some very generous donations today, tips as well. So thank you guys for that as well. Yeah, some awesome games. If you missed any of the games, definitely go back and check them out because we had some doozies today. But big thanks once again to everyone who participated in this infamously delayed tournament. Finally happened, and when it did, you know, that the delay just made it that much sweeter, right? So thanks again to all the competitors. Thanks you guys for viewing, tippers. Big shout out to all my patrons, channel members, of course, as well. You guys definitely help this ship keep going. So thank you all so much. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.